Hey everyone, how's it going? Who's ready for a little stream? It's gonna be such a cheerful, fun, exciting, fun, and cool stream today. I bet you all can't wait. Yay! Let's say hello to some folks in the chat. Blah 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 blah. Who's chatted so far? Hello, Apollo's Dagger. Hello, Kerry Magic. Hey, Lorcan Nagel. New Type Z. Cumberland Bandersnatch. Lulunade. Meh. Not that Kate. The Haglard Celine. Hello, hello, hello. Hello to Anthony. Hello to Electric Ash. Hello to Teacup the Sorcerer. I see what you did there. Sorcerer. Hello, Chaos Merlin. Hello, Pupbug. Hello to Box Full of Leaves and Buttonsy. Okay. Hello to Magos Informaticus. Hello, Drake Sin, The Drone Blues, Shield Wall Spaces, Femboy Frankenstein, Rick Drees XD Foxquirk, James Chartreuse, and Lucky707. I think that's everyone. Hello and welcome to the stream. Today we're going to be chatting with a couple of my pals. We were going to have Keffels. We will hopefully have Keffels on a future discussion. There was a scheduling conflict. It's not like this kind of discussion is going to become unnecessary. Unfortunately, wouldn't it be great to never have to talk about trans people again? That's what all you cis people watching are thinking. I mean, to be honest, it would be neat. But you could just choose to talk about trans people because we're so cool instead. Anyway, who we do have is Katie Montgomery and my good friend Tia, and I'll be bringing them in a second. I just wanted to talk about what the stream is gonna be like today. My last stream was I got pretty mad at all of the fucking bullshit that's going on all the time. And then I said I wasn't going to stream this week, and I'm not going to do my regular stream. I'm not going to do solo streams, but here I got my friends here, and we're going to chat. So it's kind of okay. I think that's kind of okay, and I think it's going to be a good one. And basically, we're going to be talking today about the US and UK war on trans people. If people haven't noticed, the US and UK are trying to kill all the trans people, and it sucks. I post about this occasionally, and then some cis people show up in my replies and say things like genocide, crying laughing emoji, or this isn't real, calm down. So at least some people don't think it's real. But it is, trust me, and I think that even the people saying shit like that know it's real and are trying to deny it rather than haven't heard it's going on. But we're going to be going into the nuts and bolts of it a little bit today, talking about specific attacks in different states around the states, different bills that have been introduced. We're going to be talking about the progress of the TERF campaign here on cursed TERF Island, the wet rock covered in racist barbarians. Before we do that, I should thank some people who have subscribed. And I should say, if you're enjoying the stream, consider paying for the stream. So, firstly, Fox Quirk, thank you for subscribing. You've been subscribed for 4 months. That's great. New Type Z, thank you for gifting a sub to the Nerdy Gogut. Congratulations, the Nerdy Gogut. You now have a bunch of cool emotes and stuff that everyone will be really jealous of and think you're really cool when you use. Goth Mommy VTuber, great username. That's someone to check out. Has gifted 5 subs. That's very generous of you. Thank you so much. To Nixie Doll, Cartoon Oriole, Gumba Master, Kingfisher, and Happy Panic. And Shield Wall Space has gifted 5 subs to Q Chen, Maximise, The Drone Blues, and Violet. Shield Wall Space also gifted a... Wait a second, that's That's the fifth one. I got interrupted in the middle. That's so weird. And also Haley Snaley. Congratulations. You all now have cool emotes you can use to show off how you're subscribed to me, which is the coolest thing to be. Drake Sin gifted a sub to DimTim81. Megadiptes 412 subscribe with Prime. Everyone please remember, if you have a Prime account, you can add it to your Twitch account, and then you can subscribe, which gives me real money without you spending any money, which I think is neat as hell. You know. So consider doing that. Anyway, Buttons, you also subscribe with Prime. Anthony cheered a bunch of bits. I'm not counting them right now. Thank you very much, Anthony. Lulu Nade, thank you for subscribing with Prime. Electric Ash also. And I finally caught up. Hooray! I did it! Everyone, welcome to the stream. So I'm gonna bring in Katie and Tia, and we're gonna chat about what is even going on. So let's do it. Whoa, Katie and Tia.
Whoa.
What's even going on?
Hello. How are you? How is everyone?
Things.
Hello, chat. That's what you say on Twitch, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
I think
That's
so.
more or less it. Yeah, you're getting it. Cartoon Oriole,
Like
thank
and
you for gifting
subscribe.
5 subs to Spiky Mike. Why isn't it Spiky Mikey? Come on, Mike. Get it together. The rhyme was nearly there. Kubli from the Lane, Jane Doe 2, and Emmy Faye, and Cynic 1984. You now all have subscriptions, and you can use all the cool emotes. Yay!
No, Spiky Mike might have been a good choice, actually. 'Cause
Yeah?
Not only did, of all the people, they got highlighted by you for having... It's like where you just spell a word wrong and everyone talks about it and it blows your tweet up. But now I'm talking about it too. Perhaps it
Wow.
was a really strategic name.
It's a strategy to help them go viral, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Well done, Spiky Mikey.
Michael.
Spikle Michael.
Michael.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically, we're here going to chat about the US and UK war on trans people. Yay! They all want us dead. Yay! To give some background for those who aren't familiar, Katie is a posting warrior in the front lines, in the trenches of the posting war. She does a lot of work covering what TERFs are up to, getting in arguments with TERFs on Twitter, and also a lot of really cool YouTube content that talks about, like, one thing that I thought was very impactful that Katie did was a video about being trans, but having been transphobic before. Yes, we exist. Sometimes you're a shithead in the past, and that's not fine, but it's the truth, and you got to get over it. And Tia lives in Texas, so is able to tell us about the shittiest place on Earth.
I don't know, Alabama's giving you a run for your money.
Wow.
So Texas has a double segregation culture where they don't just want to secede from America, they want to secede from the Confederacy after that. So
Oh, wow.
We're going to build our own house, then we're going to destroy it just to spite you.
pretty bad.
I love that idea, just seceding and just being your own, just like, yeah, that's pretty fun. That's pretty fun. The secession don't stop.
Yeah.
And then
Bristol independence.
And then they balkanize once they've seceded to just be, yeah.
Actually, to be honest, I've always thought that since I started hearing about Scottish independence, that Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland should all secede England from the UK and just take over.
Yeah.
That's a pretty, if you were here, you'd understand that's actually just a pretty popular sentiment, really.
Yeah.
So,
no joke.
Look, a baby. What's this baby?
This is Poppy.
Oh.
She's happy and
Hello,
she's doing
Poppy.
well, and she is full of fish.
God, I wish that were me. So, yeah. Do we want to? Which side of the Atlantic do we want to start on?
We could alternate. I mean, but perhaps seeing as we invented modern gender criticalism, we could go first, and then
But
back over
did
to
we?
you, where you
I mean,
taken it.
I mean, you know, it's American money that got it off the ground, so it's like.
Yeah.
This is
That's
why
true.
it's forever interlinked, and it sucks.
It is, but I feel like also there's always the escalation because whenever America does anything, it always just does it more. So it's like, oh yeah, we banned healthcare for under 16s and ruined a few people's lives, and then we unbanned it, and now it's kind of a state, and no one's quite doing very well. And Texas is like, we're just going to arrest everyone who's even seen a trans kid.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah, it's good.
oh, okay. That's pretty much a summary of what's going on for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah. I mean, that is kind of the intention behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess like a summary of what's been going on is useful. So like, if people aren't familiar like with the TERF movement here, it might be a good place to start. And Katie, I feel like you're the TERF expert I've brought on here, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I'll start off by saying I'm going to call them the gender critical movement for two reasons. And I won't rant off loads on this. I'll do a good summary. But one, that's because that's what they call themselves. And I think it's important because the entire British media pushes them and their ideology and their belief system. And that's what they call it. So if you teach everyone about like what TERFs are doing and then they see in the news, oh, gender critical person says this, you might miss it. And they talk in so many like dog whistles and hidden phrases and stuff that it's important to just realize that this is a gender critical person.
That is a good point.
About.
Yeah.
And secondly, because TERF means trans exclusionary radical feminist, and I think they do exist. That is a group of radical feminism, or at least people who are inspired by radical feminism. And at the start of gender critical in like 2015, 2016, whatever, that they were the majority of gender criticals. But now that group hasn't really grown in number, but the gender critical movement has ballooned, and it's obviously majority conservatives. And none of them. It's not that. Oh, I'm not like. Oh, you're not a feminist if you don't support trans rights. I mean, like literally, they are just anti-feminist in the corest sense, even ignoring trans people. So that's why. Anyway, the basic.
No, I think that's a good point. Yeah, I'll take that on.
The basic gist of the gender critical movement is trans bad, and everything else is just post hoc back from that. And the important thing to note for maybe international viewers who aren't British is
count yourself incredibly lucky.
Yeah.
Blessed.
One, congratulations.
Yeah.
Two, like in our politics, it's very different to how like American politics works. Like American politics, people say all this like over the top mad stuff all the time, and you have all these extreme views, and it's like very polarized and stuff, and there's lots of religion in it and all this kind of stuff. In Britain, people like to come across as not emotional, mild-mannered, subtle, like calm, like I'm the adult in the room, like no one here's losing their temper, and if you even frown, then you're the crazy like activist type. And that's kind of how the gender critical movement has succeeded.
Yeah.
So in rather than just saying we should eradicate trans people, which is what some of them are saying and some people think, you couldn't just say that. Well, you couldn't say that 5 years ago on telly or whatever, TV, and get away with it because it would seem so extreme. So what they've done is try to sell the ideas in a really like easy to sell to the public way.
Yeah.
And they've done that by hiding it behind feminist sounding language. So I think another way this is kind of why the British version works so well is that in lots of other places, feminism isn't necessarily the mainstream. I mean, there are lots of places, like perhaps even in Texas, I don't know. But if you were running for office and you said, like, I'm a proud feminist, that might count against you. Whereas even our conservative Prime Minister, Theresa May, wore a T-shirt saying this is what a feminist looks like in her, like, build up to becoming Prime Minister. And it's just, like, the news wouldn't have even reported, like, they didn't barely even covered it because it just being some form of feminist is very mainstream. Whether Theresa May's a feminist is another discussion. But that means that you can say not just, oh, we're defending women, which is like a classic, like any fascist talking point.
Yeah.
You can also use these feminist points, like actual feminist sounding arguments about safe spaces and, this kind of stuff that you would hear from feminists. But when they say it, what they mean is like safe spaces, not including trans people.
Yeah.
And like protection from gay people from trans people,
Yeah.
not actually like, because I think there's lots of anti-trans people in America who would say, I hate trans people, or they would want to code that and they would come up with a way we need to protect children. But they would never say we need to defend gay rights because they're so extremely anti-gay rights already. Whereas in the UK, you can't be openly anti-gay. Well, you couldn't 5 years ago, so successfully, and so all of this, all of the anti-trans stuff they're trying to sneak it in through like the mainstream acceptance,
Yeah.
which is for gay rights and feminism. So what that means is, to finish my summary, there's a big group of people, and lots of them are in the British media. I think that's where it's really thrived because our media is very insular. They all know each other. They all went to the same school,
Yes.
even. And so left to right, they just all have the same position, and that's gender critical is good, trans bad. And that means there are a load of voices and figures who will back each other up. Most famous of which now is J.K. Rowling, but there's a few other big ones.
Yeah.
Including Richard Dawkins, who are selling these ideas, and the goal, which they've explicitly stated, is just to get rid of all trans rights. And this isn't. It's important to point this out. This isn't hyperbolic in any sense. So when I say they want to get rid of all trans rights, I mean that the main voices in the gender critical movement, most of them, all the big groups, have publicly signed declarations saying, written out in long form with descriptions, how they want to ban all trans women and girls from women's spaces. They want to ban all healthcare for like under 18s. Trans people, they want to take away our protections from transphobia and misogyny, take away our legal documentation, ban us, like all of this stuff. They just say it out loud. So when I say they're coming to take away our rights, it's not like, oh, they're going to say that we have to sign an extra document and that's taken out. No, they are literally trying to wipe the entire slate clean on trans rights.
Yeah.
And that is what gender criticals are doing. However, they've been earlier on, like 5-6 years ago. They're
Can I do some interjections before we get too into the weeds of this, because I feel like we might be getting. I just want to go back to give some notes on some things that you said. So one thing that you said was that there's a difference between American politics and British politics, and that's inarguably true. But someone in chat was saying like, people don't seem very calm and neutral when I see them talking on clips of British Parliament. And the House, Prime Minister's questions is a very different thing to what the broad politics is. They all scream at each other in the House of Commons. That's not really... What I think Katie was really more getting at was like, it's way more normal to hear from fringe freaks in American politics who are not like representative necessarily of a large group of people. Whereas, so the overtone window, I hope people are familiar with this concept of that, like in the middle is what is actually being legislated as policy and is considered completely normal. And if you express these views, it's completely expected. And then there's like increasingly, hypothetical and then radical and then like beyond what even people would imagine people's politics could even be. In America, I think the overtone window is in some senses broader, or at least in political media, because like you can have people say like the Libertarian Party just getting up and saying that like you shouldn't have a license to drive. And stuff like this.
You don't need a license to drive.
Right, exactly. Yeah, right. And it doesn't mean that that's going to actually represent policy that the government will ever implement. Ever. And whereas in Britain, like the window is so much narrower because we're just a little cursed island, which has generations upon generations of classism that's deeply ingrained, and we have literally 3 universities that you can have gone to if you want to be the prime minister ever, and everyone,
one school,
one particular school, exactly, school. And so they do all literally know each other, and it is just like a tight social circle. And so the difference between like seeing an idea spread across the whole of American media versus the whole of British media is the difference between like seeing basically an idea become popular across the entire nation versus seeing it become seeing it infiltrate a specific set of people. And that is basically what's been going on with the gender critical movement, is that they have, and we can get into this more now, but like they have deliberately infiltrated and put themselves in positions of power and control, and reached out to and kind of brought people into the fold who hold a lot of sway in British culture. Again, J.K. Rowling is a very good example. Yeah. So that was what I wanted to add about the kind of distinction between British and American politics. Also, we are like secular, whereas so there's not really like Bible bashing in our politics ever, which a lot of people point out. Like, counterintuitively, secular bigotry is worse because like then people are trying to like make logical arguments to do with ethics and safety and policy and explain why, rather than like kind of being very obviously just about like, no, marriage is between a man and a woman, it makes it a lot more insidious.
I would say that like I would much rather someone who just says I hate trans people than someone who says I care about transsexuals' rights because without restricting their access to a gender recognition certificate, there wouldn't be a safeguarding. It's like you both mean the same thing. You're both just disgusted that I exist, and you're trying to frame it in some kind of concern for my rights, and you're telling me I'm wrong about my own rights,
right?
And that's why you should take my rights away from me. And it's much more frustrating. Whereas if someone's just like, I hate you because you're slur, then like, cool, I know where we stand.
Right.
And that does not mean just saying it. I genuinely prefer them as people. Like, at least they have the integrity to say what they think.
Yeah, no, I think that there is a horrible spinelessness to gender criticals that can be evidenced in, you say, again, J.K. Rowling's posts, her turf posting. You'll see her saying stuff about biological males. And it's like, it's wrong to call trans women men. And it's clear that that's wrong because you're not doing it. And it's clear that that people will turn against you if you do that because you're not doing it. Or saying that, I support this athlete and the other female athletes, and it's like you're avoiding saying the thing that it's wrong to say while
they just want to say trans women are men.
Exactly.
Right? Instead, they don't. They say, I think that the campaign they're running at the moment is called Respect My Sex. And it's about the idea is like defending sex-based rights, and they say we just believe in female-only spaces. And a lot of people who support trans rights, who aren't in on all what's going on with gender critical and stuff, they'll be like, yeah, okay, cool, I'm chill with that. Like, I'm cool with that. I still want there to be women's and men's spaces, and improve the situation we have and non-binary people and all this kind of stuff. But
I mean, to take an example of what is often used as like an extreme example that's used as kind of a wedge, like homeless shelters, and especially for people who are survivors of sexual assault or abuse, like there's a particularly important reason why you'd want to exclude especially cis men from a space, in a case like that. But even just more mundane stuff as well, obviously.
Yeah, and instead of just like what do they really want to do? And the difficulty is you often are telling people what their motivations are, but they've often explicitly stated their motivations, but when you confront them on them, they will not say them. And that's the most frustrating thing, because they'll sign a little document saying, I want to ban all trans women from all women's shelters. And then you say, you want to ban trans women from women's shelters? And they're like, I want to protect single-sex spaces to keep violent males out of them. And you're like, that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, that isn't what is going on here. You aren't calling to ban cis men from women's spaces.
Right.
Because they're not in them.
Yeah.
Like, that isn't the issue here. What you're doing is you're calling trans women males, and then you're implying that you're also talking about cis men when you're not at all.
Yeah.
And then you're saying all males are the issue when actually they're not. Well, they are. The cis men are. But it's not the issue you're focusing on. You're literally just trying to rephrase this to not sound as bad. And if you genuinely believed trans women should be banned from women's spaces, why don't you just say that out loud?
Well, it's like in the discussion that gets pushed to do with like predation and the danger to people who could enter women's spaces. Like we're actually treated as if we're more dangerous than cis men. Like, And obviously,
Well, yeah, exactly.
I'm not trying to talk in an essentializing or metaphysical way about the character of cis men, but just by the numbers, no, it's not trans women who are attacking anybody, really ever. But like, but in terms of the media discussion, in terms of the framing of this argument, like the logic that they're trying to push does imply that like a trans woman is more dangerous, because it's like the only discussion you hear is to do with someone who's biologically male, who's using identifying as a woman as an excuse to get into a place and assault people. And it's like, no, like you don't get into the women's bathroom and be like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking like you're there to pee, and if someone would like trying
Yeah,
if someone were a predator, like
framing, isn't it?
if someone were a predator, they wouldn't be like, it wouldn't be the woman icon on the bathroom that would like stop them from like harming people. Like it's all nonsense.
So did you wanna...
Let me hit you with this. The process that they're doing of trying to create a language which can be reproduced in legal form, which effaces even the existence of trans people while still targeting them, is the exact process that critical legal theory and later critical race theory was designed to suss out. And that is what we are seeing happen.
We need a critical
like
gender critical theory.
Yeah, and the example that I had this explained to me was during the war on drugs. There was all the different drugs have different classifications, and you can get much worse time for some than others. And the classifications don't match the danger to society or whatever. Like, war on drugs bad, but like even if you accept their premise that it's a good idea to do, like the levels don't really make any sense. And
no, a good example of that
US,
is like mushrooms, which were legal in the UK until 2007, 2008, and now are a Class A drug. So you could get a maximum sentencing, and it's like you can have a bad trip on mushrooms, but you can't like overdose in the classical sense. And like they're mostly
it's
just
not like heroin,
funny little mushrooms that make you see stuff. Like it's very silly.
Yeah. But so in the USA, when they were coming up with the drug policy, they realized that in general, for whatever reasons, cultural, economic, all this kind of stuff, black people consumed cocaine in one way, which was, I think, crack cocaine, which is when it's in a rock, and then white people generally consumed it in a powder.
Right.
Or it's like the same drug, but then what they did was make the law targeting the one that black people happened to use more often, statistically, had a way worse sentencing, more likely to go to jail, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that is a law where you can say, we're not, like, you can just step back and be like, well, how is this possibly race? We're just saying this drug is bad, we're just giving worse. But because it's specifically targeted, people look for these things.
Yeah.
And really, you should step back and in any kind of policy, even one's sentencing crimes, even if you think, these drugs are a real societal ill or whatever, you should step back and say, is this affecting, like, is this accidentally racist? And if so, at least,
or
at
intentionally
the very least,
racist,
acknowledge that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, trying to super good faith and be like, okay, maybe this was an accident. If it absolutely wasn't, but let's say it was an accident.
Yeah.
In which case, then at the very least, you should say, oh shit, I see. I do agree this is targeted. Here is a reason why that is important. Whatever.
Yeah.
But they don't, and it's the same with this gender critical stuff. They'll say, they'll do their thing of like, no one with an M on their birth certificate should be allowed in this toilet. And that's not some attempt to make women safer from men. It's literally just targeted to block trans women.
Yeah.
And it's because saying, I want to ban trans women from the toilets is not a popular thing. And statistically, it's unpopular. The BBC recently did a poll on the beliefs of the Scottish public. And Scotland is slightly better than England for... full stop. But like, not weather, but everything else. And they found out that like particularly women, in fact, the BBC really span this hard. If you look at the article, they're like the divide over gender politics in Scotland, and it was like 50%, 57% of people support trans rights, and like they kind of implying that's like the 43 don't, and like some of the graphs it was like only 45% of men support, so it kind of implies that mainly men don't. But then if you look at the actual study, which they didn't link to, but you can look up and get the data for, it was like 57% of people support and 18% oppose, and the rest are no opinion or don't know.
Yep.
And
Makes
so
sense.
when you put it on a graph, like in fact for women are 3 times more likely to support GRA reform, trans women using women's spaces, etc., than they are to oppose.
Yeah.
So it's more like 3/4 of
Yeah.
the people who care about this issue support trans people. So if you did just go up and say, "I want to ruin trans people's lives," it would go down bad.
Yeah.
So they come up and say, "I want to defend women's rights," which is good. That is a good thing to say, but not if you don't actually give a shit. And maybe your campaign co-organizer is anti-abortion and wrote an article called "We should make the gender pay gap bigger." Then maybe you don't give
Yeah.
a shit about women's rights at all. Anyway, I'm ranting off.
Yeah, a
Someone
little
else
bit.
disagree.
Okay, all right. Tia, we talked a little bit about British politics,
America.
how we have these horrible people fucking trying to sneak genocidal exterminationist policy through overtly positive messaging. Maybe you can tell us about America. I have to nip to the loo, but maybe you can tell us how America is in the meantime.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So one of the things that gets focused on a lot is the actual like legislature, and that's huge. Obviously, the police generally do their jobs based off of what is convenient for them to do, but following that what is on the books and that they have been instructed to enforce based off of those regulations and laws. Right. And so, there's a pretty good tracker that might get linked in a few moments when Sophie's back. But that shows all of the legalities or the bills that have been proposed in certain states, and but it's not comprehensive because number one, it only shows the bills and not necessarily things like executive orders from the various governors who can, create legislations based off of previous laws that have been passed, and so the Texas Governor Greg Abbott did one of those, directed the CPS, the Child Protective Services, to investigate the parents of children who are suspected to be trans or who are openly trans, right? And it's intended to make it impossible for somebody who is trans to live in the state, and it is designed to give the governor and the evangelical right additional powers of police and just continue to slip it in under the rug, and that's really the focus of the American law is to when it is illegal to make the police do a thing, is to give that power to private individuals who their spokespeople have been revving up for decades, and if it is legal for police to do it, to expand their powers up until whatever the current legal limit is, and that's been the process since 1860 something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that it's a really important distinction between the gender critical movement is primarily anti-trans, like they will do anything to be anti-trans, whereas the conservative movement is primarily conservative and they would do anything to like further conservative goals. And the conservative movement has realized that it can use the gender critical movement because it drums up support for right wing. Whereas the gender critical movement think that, oh, the conservatives are supporting us, gives us like a benefit, whatever. They are two separate kind of forces, and they're just aligned for obvious reasons. But
have we mentioned that Kaylin Conrad video yet?
Not yet. We should
do. That's a great resource. Kaylin Conrad did a 3-part video completely exposing every part of how gender critical people behave when they think they're not being observed by outsiders, and how this interacts with their public behaviors and etc. And it's fantastic. But the reason I brought that up is because in that video they show the screen cap of the person being like, incels know what a woman is, the Taliban knows what a woman is, why can't these etc. And like,
yeah, I wonder why incels and the Taliban agree with you and everyone else doesn't. Like, good argument, mate. But yeah, I was just saying that the reason I was pointing that out, I didn't mean to cut you off, was that I think the big, like the Trump people in America, I don't know how best to describe them, like the majority of the Republicans or the evangelical Christians or whatever, they do hate trans people, but their goal isn't just that. The goal of the gender critical movement is like eradicate trans people or whatever, but that's it. Whereas the goal of the people making the laws where you are is to like further conservatism and turn into a monarchy or whatever. And they're using this, and it, like you say, if they can get people to support the idea of the police meddling in people's families and change a few laws that previously made that impossible, now they have expanded powers in general that in a few years they can then use against more of their enemies.
Oh,
And yeah,
this actually goes for both of us. The name of our thing is different, but the attacks on trans people are ultimately attempting to attack Roe versus Wade and continue to be the misogynist thing. And y'all have a version of the Gillick whatever.
yeah, Gillick competence. So ours, yeah, that's probably quite a good overlap because for lots of the rank and file gender criticals, like the generic ones who come at you and call you a pedo on Twitter or whatever, they lots of them will say, "Oh, I don't want to take abortion away from anyone," or they'll say, "You know, I wouldn't want to ban contraception for under 16s." And if you said, "Oh, like you point out, oh, you supported this situation that led to that," or nearly led to that, they'll just deny it because they don't believe that can be possibly the case. So basically, there was this court case where they tried to block trans healthcare, and in order to do that, they had to attack a law which allows 16 and under children to consent to medical treatment if they fully understand it, based case by case. And that's the same law they used to give contraception and abortions to under 16s. And so the gender critical people were like, oh no, it's just about trans people. It's nothing to do with abortion. But a lawyer that they used has been attacking Gillick competence and abortion, particularly for years. The funding was from, these anti-abortion groups and the conservative side of Christianity here was pushing against Gillick competence as well. And so absolutely, they're being used to attack laws which
and let me be clear. There's
Yeah.
about the anti-abortion thing. Sorry, that's necessary to understand is that in the same way that the people writing these laws write very specific language that they think they can get away with in a court of law, or that they just want to throw a wrench in the works in a very specific way to halt the actual availability of abortions, even if it immediately gets overturned in court or stopped, right? They want it to be harder. They want it to interfere, etc. The ways that they target clinics which offer abortions, and they never just offer abortions. They always offer many, many, many health services, right? The way they target these is white supremacist. They want to get rid of the ones in white communities. They do not care about the ones that are in minority communities, right? It is
Yeah.
absolutely a white supremacist tactic. And so that fact ends up being incredibly integral to the wider context of anti-abortion legislation in the world, that the groups which are funding anti-abortion activism are upholding and maintaining white supremacy.
Yeah, yeah, it's very and I think that's maybe one of the differences. I don't know. I say this as someone who's super got, like Sophie says, I'm in the trenches, and I really focus on gender critical rather than the bigger picture perhaps. But it does seem to me that the war against trans people is just like you say, it is related to white supremacy in that they're using these attacks to further it, but also it's kind of from those people explicitly. Whereas saying that about the gender critical movement, you would need to sell that pretty hard to get the random centrist to listen.
It would be
to that
pretty hard
idea.
to get that across in the UK,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah,
Definitely. I mean, generally, I think people are pretty ignorant to that here, to the attacks on trans people here in general, partly because of the trickiness of how gender criticals have disguised what they're doing, partly just a generalized cis ignorance, they just barely knew trans people were a thing at all, and then there wasn't really a wave of educating them and doing much to change that, and then on top of that, the gender criticals have been pushing everything through disguised language. So it's I don't know. I had Labour canvassers come to the door the other day, and I'd kind of been waiting for Labour canvassers because we've got the by-election coming, and there were different canvassers from different parties trying their shit, and I was I said to Nat, if you answer the door and it's the Labour canvassers, hold the door. I want to talk to them because I want to look them in the eye and say, tell me the Labour Party cares about trans people. And I did that. And the person who was just like a door knocking volunteer waved over the person who was like who's trying to be a counselor, I think. I don't know if she's already a counselor or if she's just running to be. But brought her over, and then like she was aware that there's a problem, but then when I was saying stuff like they are, it's an exterminationist project, and every trans person I know has like a backup plan for where to flee to, and like this kind of stuff. They were, very visibly surprised. And it's like, someone who, so even someone who is aware that their party has a problem, and kind of their perspective on it is like, well, we catch some flack sometimes for not standing up for trans people enough, rather than understanding that there's like a massive war on trans people going on, that their party is a part of as well.
Yeah, I like dreaming of the day when either like canvassers from any political party knock on my door, or Jehovah's Witnesses, or whoever it is turns up. I'm just going to invite him in, pretend to be really interested, sit him down, get him a cup of tea, and then be like, I'm an angry transsexual feminist. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, you love the debate more than me. I had my polemic ready. I wasn't really there to back and forth with them. I was just like, here's the situation, and you can come back if you feel like you have any positive news for me. I was like, I said my vote is yours to be won if you come back with any kind of change having been made whatsoever. They're not going to win my vote, though.
I went on David Lammy's LBC show the other day, and he's generally good. Like, he supports trans rights, and he says it, and he's the reason why they all currently have dinosaurs in their profile pictures. Not profile pictures, names. But he had me on, and he asked me some questions about conversion therapy. I think I did okay, could have done a little bit better. And then at the end, he was like, thank you, Katie Montgomery. And obviously, Labour fully support trans rights. And then like hung up on me, and I was like, I didn't get to push back on that. Well,
that's, so that's cool. I
was like, do they?
That's a lie. Nice lie, David, but okay.
I don't know if he knows, like, I guess he's quite a big person in Labour, isn't he? So you might not realise. I mean, there's so many.
I don't know. I really don't know. I think we should probably elaborate for people who maybe don't know that we like elaborate on some of the relationship between US and UK transphobic politics, because like we're doing this stream about this as one kind of cohesive project, but I think that to some people it won't be instantly apparent that it's one cohesive project.
Before we move on to that, can I just offer a thing, just on what we were just saying, about like explaining to random Labour councillors or members of the public or whatever about how bad the situation is. I think something positive we can do as a community is try and build these resources in a very clear way where it can be like, because I've been thinking about doing this for a while. It's just a lot of work, but like to have a basic introduction to gender critical, and then be like, these are the key players, and this is what they've explicitly committed to. Like, Dr. Stock, for example, I managed to get her to say on the radio she wants to ban all trans women from the toilets. Like, lots of people will be like, oh no, Dr. Stock just gets flack for no reason. She just cares about like, she genuinely has signed a document calling to ban all trans healthcare from children. Like, that's not. You need to know this in order to form your opinion. And I think as a community, it'd be great if we could build some kind of Wikipedia for explaining gender critical to random idiots, and you can just be like, mate, just have a look at this. It's all sourced. Make up your own mind. Anyway.
Honestly, I think that's a fantastic idea. Like, I have been working for a while on a guide for how to talk to your MP about what's going on. And I think that I think that building that resource out in general could be really, really useful, and then it could be used for the same project. One thing that we could use, I'll just actually change over to show a link here. I've got an article from the Daily Mail here, of which I usually wouldn't bother showing, but when I was browsing through, I saw that they had everyone labeled in this photo together. So this is from yesterday when Joanne made a little fun appearance at a little lunch, a little wine lunch with some cool feminists.
Feminists.
Incredibly canceled for a group of people who are all together and getting positive media attention.
Yeah. In like the fascist newspaper of the UK.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so I don't endorse the Daily Mail in any way, shape, or form, but I do think this image with everyone labeled is pretty useful. Oh no, I mean I'm usually pretty pro Daily Mail. I'm making an exception today. No, I think this image labeled is a good starting point for some people, like being able to show that actually like everyone is meeting up together. All of the prominent TERFs are meeting up together, and you've got people in the same room who claim to care about trans people, claim to have trans friends, getting drunk with, like just partying with and embracing and working together on the same political project with people who just call all trans women rapists and say that there should be no trans women and try to deny trans people healthcare.
And just to hammer in on that one example you gave there, so the person, I think it's Leanne Timmerman, but who's back there, but one of the people who runs Get the L Out, who were at this meeting, Get the L Out did just publish a report saying all transsexuals rape women's bodies. Like that's a thing they put out. That's a public statement from them. So that literally, I mean, again, there's no hyperbole here at all. It's literally that J.K. Rowling, who has trans friends and she's not transphobic, is just hugging someone who's just been like, all trans people are rapists. Like,
literally and completely. Like, she's done this at least in part as a photo op to show her alliance with these people. It's also like J.K. Rowling has a notable history of timing her like social media outrages to distract away from trans people fighting for our own rights. And I wouldn't be surprised at all. Yeah, she knows what she's doing. Vile fucking piece of shit. Anyway, yesterday there was a huge, like really huge protest outside Downing Street against the exemption to the conversion therapy ban. That's maybe something we should get into with more detail. But basically, in brief, the government was going to ban conversion therapy. U-turned and said they weren't. U-turned again and said that they would, but not for trans people. And so the current big legislative battle in the UK is to get conversion therapy against trans people banned, because it should be, obviously, because it's torture and abuse.
There's a petition if you want to support that, and
that would be
maybe
great,
someone
actually.
can put it in chat and everyone can sign it.
Katie, if you could get me that link, I could pass it into chat. That would be awesome. And it's a particularly, now I'm getting sidetracked, so we should dedicate some time to talking about this. But basically, as Kaylin Conrad has highlighted, TERFs are spreading information to parents to do at-home conversion therapy on their kids. And so the banning of conversion therapy for trans kids specifically, like, or rather than the not banning of it, has a particular like context to it. It's not just them saying idly like, we're not sure about trans people, so conversion therapy is still fine for them. It's them not wanting any TERFs to face any consequences for what they're doing. And so there was a huge protest about that yesterday. Abby Thorne gave a little speech, an impromptu one. And I was there for a little bit. I got some pictures I could probably show. I'll have to think about how I'm going to do that. Anyway, and at the same time, J.K. Rowling made this little guest appearance at the Get the L Out wine lunch. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised at all if she was aware that the protest was going on and wanted to, like, you know, pull attention away from it by being a ghoul, as usual. Anyway.
One of the most frustrating things about having argued against gender critical people for like 7 years or whatever, God, what a waste of my life, is that every single thing where we've made some prediction, like literally all of it, I don't think there's anything that's been false. And one of them, that as soon as I saw this J.K. Rowling thing, there's one of her famous tweets, which was like, I'm not transphobic or whatever. if you were discriminated against, I'd march with you.
Yes, I remember
And
that.
now here's
Yeah.
her chance
Yeah.
to literally
Yeah.
march with us
Yes.
when we're being
Yes.
undeniably discriminated against, because the
You know what?
government was just straight up.
I changed away from the screen. I'm just going to change back to it. I'm just going to get my mouse. Is my mouse showing up on screen? No, it isn't. Anyway, this woman on the right, she says that all transsexuals are rapists. Then there's J.K. Rowling embracing her. So there it is.
Literally just went and met up with a load of, like, basically just met up with a group, a more than one hate group.
Yeah.
Well, her position
the
has
day that
evolved
she
on
could
the
have marched
subject of
with us.
marching with us for rights is what happened. Position
Yeah.
evolved.
True. I mean, I think that her position has evolved because I think that she's glinnering. And this deserves some examination. I don't know if people feel differently and we can debate out this take, but I think that my personal position is that, like, the avenue that we saw Graham Linehan go down is exactly what's happening to J.K. Rowling. A lot of people, I think, say, like, no, her reputation's too big, her ties to, like, still thriving businesses are too big. I don't think that's true at all. I think that she could have gone that path. I think that she could have made it so that she was, like, her own person, utterly separate from Harry Potter, and then that would have completely insulated her from those effects. Or not completely, but much more. But the loop goes more or less like this. You express bigoted opinions, you express transphobic shit, and there's a social media backlash. The TERFs pile in. The gender criticals pile in to love bomb and make sure that you're more invested in the cult. You only find solace with them because everyone else is telling you that you are on the wrong side of history and will be watching as there are fucking concentration camps set up as part of the political project that you are endorsing. And you don't believe those people, but they are being really mean to you on Twitter, so, you know. And then
Trans person told me to fuck off once now, so I've joined a hate group.
Right, exactly. So you have to express a more extreme opinion to placate the people who are, like, the only ones giving you positive validation, right? And it's always going to be diminishing returns because as everyone else is looking at you doing this, it's becoming apparent that you're only becoming more bigoted and will never change on that. So you're not going to get more attention for just being the same level of bigoted. It's not just that you, like, get more rewards from the bigots, it's that you get more attention in general from everyone every time you kick it up a notch, and that's the loop. That's the feedback loop. And that's how you wind up with Graham Linehan giving his little speech in Glasgow, they took my family away, I have to get back to the Travelodge and have my carbonara for one. And that's how you... I'm sorry, but that motherfucker had cancer, and instead of spending time with his family, he was posting about how much he needs to defend women from the transsexuals. Like, that's the worst case of posting sickness I've ever seen. Like,
he is chronic.
It's so bad. I
think the difference between
pitiable.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, I've gone through phases where I did and I don't, and I'm in the current cycle where I don't pity him at all because I know some behind the scenes stuff, but he's just as grim as you imagine in every single respect. Anyway, but I think the difference between Graham Linehan and J.K. Rowling, I mean, maybe they're on the same trajectory, maybe it's just similar, whatever. But the difference is he basically, like, jumped out of a little propeller plane over the jungle with no parachute, whereas she is, like, jumped off the International Space Station with a spacesuit and, like, 6 weeks worth of oxygen, like it.
Yeah,
he's just, you know, he was much closer to the ground. He fell a lot harder. He's not a billionaire who lives in a castle. He's utterly lost it, and J.K. Rowling is going pretty hard, and I think eventually, I'm hoping will be net negative for them because they're too confident.
This is
but not as bad as him.
Genocidal fascist Leanne Timmerman to Joanne. Damn, Joanne, this goes so hard. on every new post. No, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I can understand the metaphor of, like, she kind of has further to fall, but I don't know that she will. As someone in chat is pointing out, like, she has plenty of money. Like, she probably will be, like, financially fine forever. I can't imagine that she'll get herself into any kind of situation where she's actually, like, not, you know, like, living a noticeably worse quality of life, because of her
Yeah,
bigotry.
she's insulated from all repercussions, I think.
Yeah.
Fully. And also, I don't think that. I actually, she said, oh, it's right on the screen there. That picture of her with Rosie Duffield with the tulips.
Yeah.
She said she was a single mother. I thought she currently had a partner, but maybe not. But
Oh.
I felt like that was going to be a difference between her and Graham Lynn as well, as like he tanked his own family and stuff. But you never know. I think that law of once you post transphobia, you never go back is very true.
Well, it's because and let's trying to rein it in, I guess, back around like to the discussion about this being kind of one cohesive political project. Like the transphobia is the tip of the spear, as Alex Jones would put it. It is the thin end of the wedge that's like really driving so much recruitment, because fascists love to put like normal people on this side and those ones on the other side, right? And like that's why all these discourses are like always framed around trying to distinguish like this reasonable take to this extreme loony lefty transsexual trans rights activist position, right? Because they're trying to cleave like most people away from trans people and our allies.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is also, by the way, another reason everyone should hate Keir Starmer, because the language of like being normal and just trying to appeal to being normal is really bad for us. And by us, I just mean society. I don't even just mean trans people. It's just like that's how you get fascism.
Calling people normal is bad for us weirdos.
Yeah, but weirdos is everyone, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that in terms of J.K. Rowling's reputation, she has further to fall, and and will fall harder, and kind of is really, yeah, but
also she's much more media friendly and media savvy. Like when Graham Linehan gets a chance, any kind of media platform at all, he cries and he calls doctors Nazis, and like he's just not good at it. Whereas J.K. Rowling, she posts these they're nice photos, and if I can absolutely imagine, I very easily get into the gender critical headspace, but like I can imagine gender critical seeing that and be like, wow, this is iconic. Like it's like seeing a picture of all the first ever people who like were in thrash metal bands together. Like when you see a picture of Kerry King and Tom Araya and like stuff from when they're 18, you're like, that's an iconic photo, and that kind of it, and it's presented like that, and it's nice, and they've got like flowers and.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Take it out of the context, it's a nice photo, which is what she's
intention.
good at. And Graham Linehan just couldn't do that. If he took a photo of people, he'd be wearing some T-shirt that says like, "All trans people are Nazis" or something, and it would just be like a car crash. Like when you see a picture of him at these protests, he always just looks like a goblin. Whereas, like,
I mean, Yeah, I think you're completely right about that. I don't think it's doing much to protect her, though. Like, I think you are right about that, and I think that getting into the gender critical headspace, like, there probably will be people who are already fans of her who are like, this is great, but I think that to the, like, fairly typical cis liberal, like, she's already done the damage and is getting worse all the time, and like she's not gonna these photos aren't gonna make anyone who hasn't already chosen a side be like, this is great,
right? This
is fan material for the fan blog.
It is for the fans. Yeah. Selfies for the fans. That's true. I think one of the things, like, I'm very good at surviving the arguments and like being called slurs and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it just doesn't really affect me. But what does affect me is the propaganda side of where they're like laundering their arguments and giving them big platforms. That really stresses me out, because I'm like, I just get, I can put myself in these headspaces, and they're going to be people who still haven't really got their head around what's going on. They buy the Daily Mail because they don't really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They look at that and they'd be like, oh, she's just normal like me. Of course, I support her. And that's what kind of scares me.
Maybe so. I'm not sure that, like, I mean, the Daily Mail is obviously primarily read by middle class mums. It's kind of their like actually them and the Sun. Like it's they make out that they're targeting like tradesmen and working class men, but it's not, they're not actually. Yeah, they're like so. I think that like they are reaching the exact audience that she wants to reach, and it shouldn't be, I guess, underplayed. But anyway, about to this being one cohesive political project, I think we should kind of discuss that a bit more. Last month, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, using the cover of the news talking about nothing but Ukraine, issued an interpretation of the legal definition of child abuse, where he said that giving trans kids healthcare was child abuse. And so, I mean, as Katie put it earlier, anyone who even looks at a trans child has to be locked up for life. It was more or less what he was going for. And in his interpretation, he cited the Kira Bell v. Tavistock case.
Half of it.
How do you mean?
Oh, he cited the original ruling.
Oh, he didn't cite it being overturned. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's citing a British legal case anyway. Yeah. Like it doesn't.
Exactly. Yeah.
We very famously fought a war to not have to care about your laws, and yet here we are.
And they also referenced, I don't know if in that particular bill, but in lots of the bills, J.K. Rowling has been quoted or discussed as well. It's another thing that, like, they just throw out this stuff. You know, I really, really see their strategy of just throw absolutely everything you can. Like, they've got so much money. They do all these different court cases. They try all these different things in different countries. One thing happens in one place. They suddenly, like, that's their new foundation. And they use that absolutely everywhere. And that's, you know, it's part of it. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, but the thing is that, like, this all comes from the evangelical, like, project. Like, it all comes from the, like, far right American Christian, like the moral majority, the Jerry Falwell, Phyllis Schlafly kind of shit. Like, yeah.
When you came back earlier, I had been talking about how it's all connected to this, like the anti-abortion stuff that people from America who are funding British transphobia are like pushing laws which are specifically white supremacist, but the fact that the people who are paying for these groups are paying for, you know, Christian propaganda and targeting Christian groups with propaganda designed to speak to them in the language they understand is very important, because the sort of what are they called, the quiverful cult, where it's just trying to, you know, like literally outbreed the other, you know, it's racist, so, you know,
right, absolutely,
to describe them is going to be racist, but that they're literally trying to outbreed the other races and turn all their women into barefoot and pregnant baby factories and all their sons into holy warriors who will uphold the Christian regime. That's like their ultimate goal.
Yeah, for those who aren't aware, the Quiverful cult is basically like the name comes from the idea that you should have a quiver full of arrows. Every person is a bullet, is an arrow, and you should have as many as possible in order to win the race war. Basically,
it's a quote from the Bible, and I would say Quiverful itself isn't a cult. It's like a movement which several cults have taken on, because there are several different like evangelical actual cults, you know, like closed control cults, and they would describe themselves as Quiverful,
right,
or use the ideology.
Thanks for that.
It's not itself, isn't it?
Okay, that's useful.
Sorry, this is another thing that I've read way too much on.
No, I mean it's good to have the information on it. But exactly. I think that, like, despite the differences in in the kinds of politics we practice, or the kinds of politics that our ruling class practice, and the way that our ruling class, like, manufacture the consent of our public, like, ultimately it's exactly the same intentions, exactly the same strategies, and exactly the same it's all part of the same machine. And that's why Greg Abbott is citing Tavistock v. Bell, because like it's money from his whole project that's paid for that case to happen. I think if you have been discussing it while I was away, like I saw in chat someone was talking about Paul Conrath, the lawyer who had been like trying to, you know, help abortion be banned in the States as well. Like, was
And in
the
the UK.
lawyer? Yeah, right.
One of his cases, and I can't remember all the details of this specifically, but perhaps someone could look it up. But I gather from memory that one of his cases, he was trying to block a 16-year-old or 15-year-old girl who wanted to have an abortion, whose parents didn't want to have an abortion, and he was trying to stop her from having an abortion.
Fucking
Like,
hell.
that's absolutely sick.
Yeah.
Like beyond imagination. Imagine if your parents got in some fucking lawyer to stop you from having control over your own body as a 16-year-old.
Yeah. Sorry, it's really
bleak
fucked. It's
beyond
just
words.
like, yeah,
It's
bleak is a good
it's
word.
so
Yeah.
grim.
Yeah.
And like he done that in the past, then he goes after trans kids and then succeeds and has a big celebration with the gender critical movement.
Yeah.
And then we were all like, this is going to affect Gaelic competence, this is going to stop like, you know, abortions and contraceptions too, and they were like, oh, don't be silly.
Right.
And then it gets overturned.
Yeah.
The whole case gets overturned like
Yeah.
instantly, and they're like, it's a load of fucking garbage. Then his first
Well, I mean,
comment
it took
coming out.
it shouldn't be understated. Like, it took a year
Oh,
for it to
yeah,
be
it took
overturned,
long.
and a ton of trans
Yeah.
kids didn't have their medication for a year.
They still don't.
Yeah. Shit. Really.
But yeah, so the Good Law Project are suing them to actually. So Tavistock are no longer legally restricted, but they
Right.
haven't policy changed.
Of course they haven't.
So they're not doing it because they're fucking garbage. But just on the Paul Conrad thing, he then said, first thing he said after the news of his ruling getting overturned was, well, in that case, we need to repeal Gaelic competence.
Oh. Good.
That was like the first thing he said.
Oh,
So
good.
like it was just so explicit. It's just
Yeah.
been so explicit all along. And there are some gender critical people who know and are lying, but I think most of them are just in denial over it.
Yeah, I mean, this is why it's been my strategy to talk, like, whenever a new figure, I mean, I did this when J.K. Rowling first did it, like, whenever a new figure kind of pops their head up as someone who's messing with gender critical stuff is yeah, like a bigoted meerkat. I try to talk, you know, to put a message out there that's saying, look, like, you're being tricked right now by people who you think are feminists, and maybe they think they're feminists, and maybe the people who they're being tricked by think that they think they're feminists as well. But like, you're being tricked right now, and they're using the language of feminism to trick you into doing something really, really harmful. And I think that Paul Conrath is a really good person to focus on in that, like, that to explain that exact distinction, because like,
because there's a point where it goes from just a chain of people thinking each other are feminists to the point where there's the first explicit anti-feminist.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
And it's just, and it's like with the Posey Parker crew as well. Like, so she's another prominent gender critical person. She's just like proudly not a feminist, and she thinks feminism holds women back and all this kind of garbage.
And she hangs out with Tommy Robinson and like, you know, white nationalist
and like her fans. Some of them think they're feminists, and they're just, she just crudely spoken. Or I don't really watch her videos, but I support her in general. And then their friends get from them, and they're like, oh yeah, adult human female, I'll buy that t-shirt.
Right.
And then you're like, mate, but just look at what she's fucking saying. Yeah. Even not what she's saying about trans people. Look about what she's saying about everyone else. Like,
yeah, exactly. I mean,
don't look about what she's saying about me.
Someone was asking me. Oh wow. Someone was asking me earlier, like, about the like progress of attempts like to push the gender critical movement in Australia, and what can be done. And I've been focusing on it in Canada for a while, because like Canadian friends have been saying, like, we've got the first kind of inklings of some shit going on here, and I don't, you know, what is there to be done. And I always think that the thing to be done with this kind of like with cults, for one thing, but also like these kinds of really harmful social movements, is to show people where it goes to. So again, like, that's exactly why like Paul Conrath is useful. But like the same with like QAnon, right? Is like if someone were like just dabbling in like, you know, they firmly, deeply believe Hillary Clinton is an evil person, valid, based, etc.
Correct.
And and then they start, but then they start to say, but I have these questions about, you know, and they start alluding to like kind of Pizzagate-y kind of stuff. That's when you have to go like, like this is where that goes to, and show them the most extreme part, and show them all the steps that lead to there and how they're being pulled into that. And I think that's, to me, that's the most reliable strategy I've seen to turn people away from that kind of radicalization pathway. But I don't really, I don't really know.
It's
like,
very difficult. I also think you need to be aware of the reasons people get sucked into this stuff and provide alternatives. Because people, like good, intelligent, non-bigoted, genuine people get sucked into all kinds of cults and horrific political movements, QAnon, but religions, all kinds of things. And often it's because they have no support network. That's an absolute classic for why people get into cults, and that's very true for gender critical. Lots of these people are people who, like, particularly at the start, less so now, like when saying like the true TERFs rather than the gender criticals, lots of them are cis women who have experienced horrific sexual violence in their life, and like J.K. Rowling is an example. And then where do you go from that? Like, the state's not going to help you. Like, often the police aren't going to help you. Maybe you'll lose your friend group. You might be trapped in an abusive relationship. All this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then if there's nowhere for them to go, and then there's some hate movement that wants them. I mean, gender critical targets people like this, these vulnerable people, and it's like, oh, we support you. Come join our movement. By the way, trans people are trying to make it so that will happen to you again. And then, they keep them in this perpetual state of fear, and that's how you radicalize people. But like, I think that as well as showing people where this is going, the important thing for these cults is to stop people getting into them, because that's much easier than
absolutely,
them.
I want to.
And then
we're getting really far away from it. I want to swing back.
Okay.
You said something about some people are worried that this thing is starting in Canada, and we're just seeing the first inklings of it, but we aren't seeing the first inklings of it. The first inklings of it were a bit ago, at like maybe even further back than this. But when Jordan,
well,
Peterson
I was
did
speaking in
Canadian
the,
Intellectual-
I'll just say I was speaking in the past tense when I said
Okay,
they were saying we're seeing these first inklings. But please carry on. Like.
Yeah, because this is years and years ago at this point, where Jordan Peterson, Canadian intellectuals, was talking about Canadian politics with regards to trans people, and trying to be exclusionary, trying to be transphobic in the political sense, right?
Yeah.
And so this is years and years old.
Yeah, I think so. Although, like the specific strategy, which unfortunately works with liberals who are very unaware. Sorry, I want to distinguish here. I shit on liberals a lot. Again, based, correct. I'm the best, whatever. I'm so cool. Anyway, I'm not like other leftists. I'm the coolest because I shit on liberals. Anyway, I want to be clear here. I'm not saying liberals who are who are not aware, because that's a quality of liberals. I'm saying liberals who have not been made aware, like the specific subset of liberals, right? Because I think that there's a trend in America in blue states. Especially in like metropolitan centers, where a lot of people, one sec, where there are people who are looking at British politics and are seeing the gender critical movement, and they're going, fuck that, we don't want to be anything like that, right? So like, but the specific strategy of disguising all the stuff in feminist concerns does work on a bunch of liberals who have not already been made aware of how bad it is. Kira chats, thank you so much for rating. Hello to Kira's audience. Hey everybody, recognizing a lot of names already. Hey KCat4AA4. Hey Scumlord92, great, love that, so good, such a good name. Hey B-Rat. We are chatting about the UK and US war on trans people. And how much our governments want us dead. Yay! It's fun! Anyway, if you're enjoying the stream, consider paying for the stream. Subscribe or cheer or donate directly using command tip. I have a fundraiser going on right now to get some laser beams on my face, if you want to donate to that. Also, if you have Prime, you can give me money without you spending any money. All these things, all the stuff. You come from Kira's chat, she's telling you this stuff all the time. She loves money. Just like I do. Give me money. I don't actually love money, but I like having it. Anyway, we will now
spending it.
Get on the. I do like that is it. I don't even like having it. I like it going away from me and me getting things. It's things I like to have.
Mate, the one thing that you have that I'm jealous of is that fucking Snorlax.
The boy.
Like,
The boy.
So give it to me.
Yeah, I do want some kind of Snorlax scenario, but also I was thinking like, do they do like a Venusaur?
No.
Interested
There are
if
so many
anyone wants to
huge
custom make
Pokemon
one.
that would be really good as big beanbags. I've thought about this probably way too much.
Okay, right. This stream is no longer about trans rights. It's about which Pokemon would make good big beanbags.
Kara Chats,
Let's
thank you so
remain
much
an
for gifting
enigma.
5 subs to Marty C59, Dubicus, Becky Breach, Middle Earth Marxist, cool name, and Delicate Friend. You now all have tier 1 subs, which means you have all the emotes and a little cute sub badge.
Wow.
And everyone will be really jealous and think you're really cool for having those things.
You're part of the elite club, which includes Spike Michael.
It's
So.
true. It's true. Anyway, so
Yeah, back to where we were. What
where
were we talking about?
Um,
Trans bad. That was the topic.
Yeah.
well, we were talking about the ways that the Turf Project is trying to spread around the world.
Yeah.
So it
Oh,
might
yeah,
it
so
might
how-
be worth our while to talk a little bit about the LGB Alliance.
Yeah, let's do it. So going back to the article, Alison Bailey of LGB Alliance was at the same meeting. So
Yes,
earlier,
and she's
everyone knew
actually.
we were just
Let me get
we were
that screen
talking
up.
about how this is like one kind of big project and how they seem like these
There's
different
Alison
groups.
Bailey, and
they
actually she is suing Stonewall.
Mate, so Alison Bailey raised £100,000 to sue Stonewall, which you can go into in a second. And she's a few weeks away from the case, has decided she wants a further £400,000. She's trying to raise £500,000.
Just milk
to sue
those
Stonewall.
turf piggies for every cent.
Yeah.
Wow.
And one within minutes of her requesting this, or hours perhaps, one person anonymously, I wonder who it could be, donated £50,000.
Oh,
in
I
a
wonder
Jesus
single
Christ,
donation.
fucking hell.
I wonder what one person has that.
Yeah,
Who
and
could
she
that
and
have
Alison
been?
Bailey was like, "Oh, thank you." That's like, what the fuck? That is literally life-changing money. That is an incredible sum of money to give to
Jesus
someone
Christ.
for suing. So the reason, I guess, whenever I get to legal stuff, I always feel like I need to be a bit more careful. My understanding as a non-legal person of the case is that Stonewall give guidance on how employers should support LGBT people in the workplace.
Yeah.
And they gave some kind of guidance of like, transphobic people in your
Well,
workplace.
shall we see how she
are bad.
describes it first?
Oh yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay. I am suing Stonewall. I am suing Stonewall Diversity Limited to stop them policing free speech. This sounds like the language of a progressive and a feminist to me. I am a barrister, and I helped to set up a new organization for lesbian, gay, and bisexual people, the LGB Alliance, to provide an alternative to Stonewall. In retaliation, Stonewall had me investigated by my chambers in an attempt to cost me my livelihood. I'm so glad she's included a picture of her in the
Is
wig.
that Chambers like bar, like your version of the bar?
Yes, basically.
I think so.
So first and foremost, I hope that my legal action will bring me justice. I also hope that it can stop Stonewall from policing free speech via its diversity champions scheme. The diversity champions scheme is just like getting people
given-
to like talk to their workplace about like not being an insensitive dickhead to minorities.
Yeah, it's like if you run a business and you're like, I want to
Yeah.
help it, like do the right thing. Then
Yeah.
Stonewall can be like, well, if you meet these points, we'll list you as a diversity champion, and then gay people will want to be employed by you, and everyone wins. Like that's the idea.
Yeah.
Like you tick a few boxes, like we have once a year diversity training, and we don't say the F word in the office. Like and then you end up on this list.
Radical stuff,
And-
really wild.
Yeah, she's claiming that they've affected her.
It's basically George Orwell in
earnings.
1967 Animal Crossing. It is more or less like that's about as authoritarian as you can get. It's like not saying the
Yeah.
F word.
How is this like what is the legal argument that is being proposed is my
She-
question.
she's saying that she earned X amount of monies in 1 year, and then Stonewall said whoever she works for needs to not be transphobic, and then she's then saying, and then following year she only earned half as much. I think I have numbers, but I'm not going to say them because I'm not totally sure. But
Sorry, I've
That's
just
her claim.
noticed someone who followed earlier, who's called Dumbledore's Phoenix, has posted a message in the chat, and now that they've posted a message, I'm able to check their account age, and I was meaning to do that. 2017. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, bud. that's didn't age well, did it? I'm sorry. you,
Oh no.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, bud.
Mm.
You can change the username anytime you want. I'm just saying. Anyway, sorry, Katie. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just
No, that's okay.
I've been waiting to check that one.
Yeah, I think that's the legal argument. The gist is, I mean, this is what I hate about this stuff. Like, this is why I fucking hate law in general. It's like what she's doing here. Like, quite obviously, what she said. She doesn't want to attack Stonewall, and she wants to promote freedom of speech to be transphobic in
Yes.
the workplace. Like,
Yes.
that's the goal. But if you couldn't, that's not a law. That's not a thing.
No. Yeah.
So what she's really doing is saying, "Oh, they cost me money, and that's bad," and then then it will be a big media scandal or whatever. But it's just garbage. They're just so totally divorced from the reality of what's going on versus the law.
Yeah.
And it's just going to go down to technicality. And that, if law wasn't fucking garbage, then this would be like open and shut because like she runs LGB Alliance or whatever. I don't know what her position in LGB Alliance is. She helped set it up, as she said, and they're fucking garbage. So, but it's going to go down to some technicality and who has the most money. And if she has £500,000 for solicitors, Stonewall aren't going to spend £500,000 on this case, so maybe they'll lose. I don't know.
Well,
It just seems
excitingly,
like
I was just checking in
coincidence.
on. So someone in the chat has said, has LGB Alliance actually done any pro-gay, pro-bisexual advocacy at all? And firstly, no, of course not. It's literally just a hate group. But secondly, I was just checking this out, and I was just checking in on Twitter, and there's actually a trending topic. Can I get this on screen? How do I get this on screen?
Oh yeah, it's so they got
the LGB
given money
Alliance,
today.
yeah, were given funding from the Arts Council England to make a film celebrating gay lives and marking 70 years since Her Majesty the Queen ascended the throne. I don't entirely get how those link. Like
This is conservative nonsense. Isn't it?
like
Yeah. So basically,
gay
the
icon
National
the
Lottery...
Queen. I don't know. Like like I don't know.
Well, yes, Queen. Which Queen did you think they were talking about?
I didn't think of that. I forgot that the British
Yes, the
monarchy
Queen.
is legally yassified. I did forget about that. Okay.
So the National Lottery's funding thing. I don't quite know how the Arts Council goes via the lottery goes via something to do with Parliament. And would you believe it that the person in charge of making this decision is gender critical?
Wow.
And follows all the gender criticals on Twitter and has said gender critical things in the past. And oh, what a shocker! So now it's going to be one of these situations where it's going to be raised internally, and it's going to be whether they trust her as an employee and a friend more than they trust the evidence of what LGB Alliance have done and said and the political pressure. And it's just going to be 50-50 again.
I'm receiving news from my backroom producer. I'm gonna hang on. It's not really in my earphone, but it's a message from Nat. But the grant was just suspended, by the way. The London Arts Council announced it was suspended while LGBA's charity status is in question. So this is part of what we're talking about when we're saying like things being more out in the open are in some ways like preferable and feels better because it's like we can fight back, like people can be pushing back on this shit. Like the LGB Alliance was given charity status, like as Stonewall's been being pushed out of every Katie, your face.
That's just so fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. But that was one of the things when Canvasser came to the door to talk to me from the Labour Party. When I was talking to the councillor, she said like, what's a sort of one big thing, and I was like, well, a hate group shouldn't have charity status. Like that's
the only
one
fucking
by
the way.
Yeah, of course. No, I mean, of course. But like, if you want a place to start as someone involved with the like established party structure, like being opposed to the LGB Alliance having charity status would be a great place to start. But yeah, the LGB Alliance is really significant. I forgot to say this before, and I do want to say, in case people don't know, that the LGB Alliance is significant because it's one of the groups that's receiving a ton of this evangelical money and is using it to set up branches all around the world. So like, the LGB Alliance Canada is a really prominent branch of their project where they're really trying to like put down roots and really get their project going. But it also like really shows like how much they're only a hate group and only reactionary fucking fascists, because for instance, their branch in Poland, while claiming to be like a feminist and pro-gay rights organization in Poland, a country under like a fascist regime and experiencing like fascist militias in the streets, like their branch in Poland is anti-abortion. Like it's it's pretty straightforward.
Is that
yeah,
like
yeah.
an official?
Yeah.
Oh, if anyone's
How
got info on
interesting.
that, DM me on Twitter because I'm going to make some noise about
Honestly, if you just
Um,
use the Google Translate feature, looking at the Polish branch, you can just translate their tweets, and they are completely open about it.
that. Is it?
Yeah,
Oh, mate.
yeah,
Okay, that's very mask off.
yeah.
Because I was going to say one of my favorite things, and this might not mean much to the Americans in the chat, but the LGB Alliance Ireland Twitter account was just set up and run from London, and I
Oh
feel like that's just the most
wow.
perfect example of fucking British colonial garbage of Ireland. Like for literally, I don't know, thousands, maybe hundreds of years,
Yeah.
Britain has just stormed into Ireland, told them what to think and do, tried to erase all of their position. And Ireland's been pretty good on LGBT rights for the last
Yeah,
10
we have
years,
someone in
maybe?
chat, Lokan Nagel
Yeah.
in chat, who I was hanging out with when I was in Dublin, has been involved, like seriously involved with the repeal campaign to make abortion legal, and like there's a ton of really incredible like progressive stuff there, and Dublin was like really cool for just seeing street art and stickers and stuff that was incredibly based, just like that like you wouldn't see in the coolest hippest parts of Camden or whatever, like genuinely just like yeah,
Yeah, Ireland's on it
the
recently.
populist leftist like feeling there is really strong. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's wicked. But like, yeah, I think it's very anyway, but yeah, LGBT Alliance are like they're just what I feel like with LGBT Alliance is there was this one of the early gender critical groups was called Women's Place UK, and for a
Yes.
while until very recently, their
Which can I
great
just?
success.
I'm sorry. Can I just say, woman's
Yes.
place? Like,
Yeah.
I know.
it's just a thing where, like, okay, I don't want to go too hard into this with like my brand is Sophie from Mars, but like when you play something tongue in cheek, you know, and you're trying to do like a right, you're trying to do like woman's
Yeah.
place, and it's like maybe this is like a safe space kind of thing is what you're alluding to, but obviously it's got the tongue in cheek of. But then you are just actually reactionaries, like. Come on, like what the fuck? Like that name works if you are not exactly what you are. Like what the fuck?
Yeah. But until recently, a Women's Place UK's great success, and I think set the tone for the whole gender critical movement, was to just have reasonable concerns. We're just asking questions. We're just, women talking about this issue. And they very well managed to incorporate the whole range of gender criticals. They used to have Posey Parker as a speaker.
Nice. Nice.
So they would have, and it's like this picture where we were looking at where some of them are extremists, some of them are moderates. And they don't condemn each other. And that's like the hard rule. It doesn't matter what any other gender critical people say.
Yes.
You just don't call each other out. But which then allows them to sell their
They are,
ideas.
they,
And
yes,
also
they are much better at organizing than we are. I agree.
Yeah. They take one of their strategies is to not take public positions. So I remember asking them in like 2017. So they were like, Katie, it would be safe for you to come to our meetings. Come and see what we're saying. Stop condemning us without going. I genuinely, I mean, whether people believe this or not, I was going to go to one with a friend who was gender critical.
Right.
Just to see, because I was still in my like maybe they're right, let's explore them phase. And I was like, well, okay, but if I come, am I going to be able to use the women's toilets? And they just wouldn't answer. I was like, what? Like this is it for me. Like I'm happy to come and listen to all your ideas openly.
Right.
If you can just tell me your position on this.
Yeah.
And they just wouldn't. And I was tagging in the organizers and everything.
Yeah.
And I was right and deep in gender critical space. And anyway, that's part of the strategy. And they've recently come out saying they want to ban all trans women from women's spaces. But which we knew all along.
Of course.
But I feel like LGBT Alliance tried to do exactly the same thing. They were like, here is a group claiming to be feminists, opposing trans rights, walk in that line of just asking questions.
Yeah.
And we want to do the same for gay people because it's another minority group we can pretend to stand for and weaponize against trans people. But Women's Place UK, as garbage as they are, was run by some smart people who did a good job of what they set out to do. LGB Alliance is run by fucking clowns. Like, they are just relentlessly incompetent, and the only reason they're achieving anything is because they have so much money.
Yes, absolutely. Katie did a good interview with Jen Ives, who is a very funny
she's great.
trans woman
Definitely
who's a
follow her
comedian. She's really worth
general,
following in general. But Katie did a really good interview with her after she'd been to the LGBT Alliance conference and was essentially kicked out, like not officially by security, kind of kicked out, but like was confronted by people who were calling her a pedophile and a freak and all of this stuff, and like. There's a lot to get into, but like basically like check out that interview on Katie's channel. Actually, I realize now that I haven't linked Katie's channel, so I'm just gonna do that. But yeah,
like, subscribe. So just to do a little link here, the LGBT Conservatives, the group, recently had a little internal election to see who was going to lead them.
yeah,
One of the people who potentially could win, I don't know if the results are in for that yet or not, is a guy. It's called Alex something with a B. He's the guy who got thrown out of Manchester Pride last year for wearing an LGBT Alliance hat.
Yep.
And his boyfriend is the guy in the video calling Jen Ives a paedophile.
Oh, sick! Love that. Awesome. My favorite
So
thing.
let's see how well the LGBT Conservatives goes down from here.
And also, if people want something to get involved with, some quick digital clicktivism, you can do. Twitter is really fucking up on this. Mule's just made a really good point here. Like, their reporting on the trending tab just doesn't mention that the Get the L Out is a violent hate group. Just a really like exterminationist project, and they should. So people should retweet that, and honestly, like also tag Twitter safety and like make a stink.
I would say that Twitter's little whoever's doing that,
yeah,
they aren't like lots of the BBC, for example, would launder the fuck out of that every single time.
Yes.
BBC is 100% of the time always going to spin against trans people.
Yeah.
Whoever's writing them little one-liner descriptions of the trending tags, sometimes they're really good. And they've done things like where they're just like, J.K. Rowling's accused of being a transphobe. Like that'll be their little summary, and it's like. Whereas the BBC would be like prominent feminist attacked by crazy trans people or whatever. So it's
for sure.
There's a chance. They had to tweet safety people
for sure.
like
I think that the Twitter trending stuff is being written by someone who doesn't have comprehensive understanding of a lot of the topics that they're covering.
I mean, how could they?
Makes sense because they have to cover so much different stuff, right? I don't think that it's an issue of malice here. I'm not encouraging people to go and like harass Twitter safety here. I think I'm saying. Go through, comment on that, retweet the stuff, and say, "Hey, Twitter safety, you haven't done your research here. These guys are really bad."
Do we want to cover the LGBT to the LGBT Alliance to the Get the L Out thing, where it's just splitting up the community, etc., as like a larger part of the strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's significant to even point out that, like, just in their name, just in their branding alone, LGB Alliance is deliberately excluding trans people, and then Get the L Out, another gender critical group, saying if trans people are in the acronym, they want lesbians to be out of it. Like.
So it's interesting because that is the general gist, and that's what unites them. Their disgust for trans people. But Get the L Out are also anti-LGBT, not just because of trans people, but like they're more, they're like kind of separatist.
J.K. Rowling
group.
with Leanne Timmerman, activist and campaigner at Get the L Out Lesbian Not Queer campaign.
Yeah. So it's not just trans people that Get the L Out are opposed to. Of course, LGBT Alliance are constantly, clumsily, buffoonishly anti-bisexual when it would be so easy for them not to and sell their brand better. But like
field full of rakes.
Yeah, they are. But that's because they're just incompetent. It's an accident to them.
Yes.
Shitting on bisexual people. I think that's not true for Get the L Out. They'll be anti the whole idea of LGBT in general. But yes, is like you were saying, it is definitely part of the wider strategy against LGBT rights is to split us up, and it's not really working. I mean, we just saw that massive protest and a huge response to this petition, and
Yeah.
like when one LGBT Alliance supporter turns up to Pride, like the entire of Pride tells them to fuck off. Like it isn't splitting the LGBT community. The entire all of the LGBT organizations pulled out of the government's big LGBT conference
Oh,
over
the
the
Safe to Be
trans
Me
conversion
conference.
therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the LGBT community is not divided, but it's definitely their strategy. And what they have done much more successfully is to divide LGBT people from people's perception of feminism.
Yes.
And it's got to the point more feminists are starting to speak up, but a lot of them don't want to because a lot of mainstream feminists get such a horrific amount of abuse all the time, like
Yeah.
24/7.
Yeah.
And of course they care about trans people and gay people, but they're fighting for like abortion and like the rise of fascism and like I absolutely understand why they're not focused on LGBT rights. And then they look and they're like, I want to do a little I support trans people, and their mate does it, and they get a 2,000 people pile on calling them a like child abuser and stuff, and that
Yeah.
so they don't say anything. And
Yeah.
I understand, and it would be good if you could speak up and just turn off replies, but it still would not be a nice time.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I've
but-
read Jess Phillips's book. Like, it's it's easy to see how people basically like how someone who's a public figure can just like slide around easily into one side or another completely unintentionally when the only feedback they get 100% of the time is like just a huge wall of noise of people hating them. Like,
Yeah.
I find Jess Phillips's politics like pretty revolting personally, but like
she's the
she
Labour
doesn't- yeah.
lady.
Yeah. She's just one of the like Labour right kind of central, like one of the core cast of centrists orbiting Starmer, and like she yeah and she in her book talked about like how much abuse she receives from people who just hate feminists and just hate women.
Yeah.
And how
She does get a lot.
yeah, I mean, she was actually one of the people that friend of the channel, Sargon of Akkad, did his like
Oh yeah, God.
did his sort of whatever, like however it can be described, like non-rape threat, but like him saying that I wouldn't even rape you is his was his thing he would keep on saying to women. It was directed at her when he kind of famously said that when he was running as a UKIP candidate.
He's
He's a fascist.
He's like
it's pretty straightforward.
yeah. He's like the level up of cartoonish buffoonery that LGBT Alliance are even.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
LGBT Alliance wouldn't say that at least. Like
Well,
relentlessly.
yeah, he's all of their stats boosted by one, including the clown shoes. But I think like having seen Jess Phillips' perspective on her position, like it's really easy to see why she can't distinguish the feedback. And also just being someone with like a social media platform myself, like sometimes I can't distinguish much of the feedback that I'm getting. Like it is just like sort of blasted at you, and like when it's generally angry in tone, you can't really distinguish between one thing and another. And yeah, I can completely see it. And that's kind of why people get a bit afraid when someone kind of essentially goofs up, like a public figure kind of goofs up on talking about trans issues, and then there's a lot of people mad at them. I think Wes Streeting is just a bell end. But there's a lot of people mad at them, and then like it's like now is the moment when TERFs when gender crits will be willfully getting in their mentions and saying we appreciate you, we think what you've said is great, we encourage you to say more on that. Andy, I thought maybe you could talk about, because I was like, I don't know if this is a really uninformed take on my part, but to me it feels a little like the end game of this entire political project isn't as such to destroy LGBT people the entire world over, like as much as it appears to be. Like it seems like that's what they're kind of going for because they're hateful fascists. But when you consider kind of the evangelical project, I think to some quite sizable degree the end game here is to find a way to drive a wedge in the Democrat voter base. I feel I feel a little bit like this is kind of trying to loop around to getting like LGB Alliance New York having a bunch of people who consider themselves, feminist, liberal, Democrat voters who are anti-trans. What do you like kind of feel about that?
I mean, yeah, that would definitely be an incremental goal in their thing, but that's still, you know, the exact stated goal is to legislate trans people out of existence,
Yeah.
right? And so in getting an ostensibly progressive voter base that has like slid into supporting anti trans like ideology or even more broadly anti-queer ideology,
Mm.
right? And voting for Republicans, that is still an incremental goal to that larger goal of genociding trans people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess yes. So yeah, it shouldn't be lost that like
It,
destroying like genocide is their ultimate goal. I guess what I mean when I say about the division of the other voter base and manipulating them, what I mean is like earlier we talked about like secession and that being like a thing that's kind of in the popular mindset of some people in the right wing in the South. And like I wonder, I guess as a person on this side of the ocean, I don't necessarily have a good read on how much that's still any kind of idea. Like, do the people in charge of, say, do the politicians in Texas want a Texas that's the way they want it, or do they want a Texas that's part of a United States that's the way they want it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so the Greg Abbott is currently working on a project with other Republican governors to try to call what's called an Assembly of the States, which will allow them to rewrite the Constitution and cut out and alter it, including the amendments, so that it can be explicitly um, all of the things they want it to be. So they don't want to secede from the United States because they know that you cannot win against the United States military if you are trying to if you are an individual group trying to fight back, right? You just can't win against the people who own all of the oil and all of the
Yes.
guns.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
So you're saying that
uh,
that is as a project towards like seceding.
Instead of making it to be succeeding, they want the entire United States to functionally secede and have a different constitution, so that the Confederacy just is what the United States is. If that
Oh,
makes
I
sense.
yes.
see. Okay. They're trying to okay. 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 Have the whole okay. I like the
I
description
think,
of make the entire United States secede. That's an interesting way to put it. Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Um,
and this is also incredibly popular in
Mhm.
places like the state of Jefferson thing, if you've heard about that, in Northern California and rural Oregon,
Hmm.
where those people want to form their own separate state. Like the person who lived across from me while I was still living in California had a Confederate flag on their garage, like, and it was the size of their garage door. It was massive, right? They weren't hiding it, and they were a
Yeah.
state of Jefferson type person, right?
Right. Yeah. I think I like so I've obviously been studying like conspiracy theory spaces for a while, and it shouldn't go unsaid that like along with the fact that transphobia is being used as this like recruiting tool, and the gender critical movement is culty and full of conspiracy theories. I mean, just look at what people say about Martin Rothblatt if you want a tiny drop of that. But like
if you want to see a good intro to that, if you go to Krista Peterson,
mhm.
her Twitter, it's a
Yeah.
pinned tweet at the moment.
Yes, yeah, that's true.
It's absolutely fucking horrifying, but
Yeah.
it's a good read.
Hopefully someone can link that in chat. That's Krista Peterson on Twitter. Um, yeah, like I've been looking into this for a little bit now, and like the QAnon narratives that have been like it's older than what is called QAnon, but like the stuff that's been forming in the cultic milieu around the American right wing for the last say 70-ish years. Takes the broad shape of projecting about this idea of like breakaway society. Like it's very essential to a lot of the conspiracy narratives that there are two factions in the ruling class and two factions in society, and that like the liberal side are trying to break away and leave everyone else behind to like just suffer and die essentially. And I think it's important to understand that framing. Maybe I'm not explaining myself well enough. Alex Jones thinks that the Earth is a big egg, and and inside is a spaceship that all of the globalists are going to leave on, destroying the Earth and killing everybody else. Whether he believes
I've
that
read
is obviously
Genesis
immaterial,
by
but
Octavia Butler.
yeah, right. Whether he actually believes that is immaterial, but it's certainly what he says. And he says that they got the alien technology from the demonic aliens who will intervene and will infiltrate governments and control people. And there's also the other faction of aliens who are isolationist and don't intervene and are good and are basically the angels from the Bible. And I think that framing and understanding what that narrative represents in real terms, which is obviously the simplest way to put it is the divide between the American left and right. But like that
Between the two wings
narrative,
of the ruling party or the ruling class.
right? Yeah, and that narrative is what frames and shapes a huge amount of the perspective of the American right wing. The idea that this break is coming and everything needs to be shifted to be on their side. Like the preparation for a second American Civil War has not been a recent development. Like it's been a long time laying the groundwork and then working up towards it. And I think that I'm just I think that we can puzzle out putting the gender critical movement worldwide, but particularly in the UK, that it does actually fit into that exact framework and that plan. But I haven't thought about how to say that yet because it's just occurring to me as I'm saying this right now, which is why I'm being so rambly. Yes.
The way that mass media has been used to generally direct people's attention and their relationship to information, and not just the information that's presented to them, is a long-term ongoing project in which you kind of have to adapt what you're saying to the specific situation of what's appropriate in whatever area you're talking to at the certain time, the Overton window of that area, if you will.
Yeah.
And so the way that it fits into the UK is that if there are enclaves where life is different, where there is diversity and choice and etc. and freedom, then the European project has to fight against that freedom to the death, absolutely to the death. That is why we have seen so much genocide in the last 600 years, right? And so because of this, whenever this kind of rhetoric shows up, it doesn't matter if it deals with an intersection of oppression that doesn't affect you. The people who push that kind of thing will make it affect you. And that is whether you benefit from the oppression that they are pushing or not.
I think
it will come and hurt you.
Yeah, and there's two arguments for that from totally different sides. So one is this kind of big picture stuff that you guys are talking about now, where it's this is part of their big project and that's their plan. It's going to affect you anyway. But also, I think that's kind of top down. But also, if you go bottom up, from the basic oh, we're just going to build our worldview based on just facts and ideas in front of us and things like that. Lots of this stuff, their ideologies and their explanations for them require certain logical jumps and tricks and ways of thinking and stuff, which, if applied consistently, affect you, whoever you are. If you and the classic we can see with this is the rise of transphobia has led to the rise in homophobia. Because if you start saying teaching kids about trans kids is child abuse and everyone who does it is a paedophile and blah blah blah, blah. It's so easy for you to hear that every single day. Trans people are trying to steal your children, all this kind of stuff, and then one day someone says LGBT people are trying to, and it's the exact same argument, same reasoning, same thought pattern, the same logical traps. Then you've already learned that it makes so much sense to you, and you would have to come up with a whole new set of thoughts and logical jumps and stuff to separate those two. So it just doesn't. And then once you've done that, then suddenly they want to teach critical race theory to your kids. That's the same thing. And then all of a sudden they fucking hate everyone. And it's I know that's kind of a slippery slope comment, but like,
No, it's not
you
the
can just
slippery.
see it in action.
It's not the slippery slope, and it's important to distinguish on why it's not, because the logic that we're dealing with is conspiracist, and this is like exactly in my wheelhouse because it's just what I've been looking at. But this is the motivating force behind it. It's what Michael Bakun called the dynamics of expansion in conspiracism, which starts with single event conspiracies. Maya Forstater was fired for believing in biological sex, right? And then you expand from a single event conspiracy theory, which you could debunk by looking at all of the stuff, but it's about what the person feels, right? They're defending an emotional truth that it should be okay to believe in biological sex, right? And that expands from an event conspiracy to a to a systemic conspiracy in which women like you are fired all the time for believing in biological sex. And then you point to like that artist and J.K. Rowling getting cancelled and blah, blah, blah. And suddenly it's a systemic conspiracy. And then it's a super conspiracy, right? Which is exactly what you were describing with the jump from LGBT people, blah, 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 to critical race theory, right? You've changed kind of topics, you've changed angles, but it still is part of the same insidious system.
It's a superset that already includes your worldview.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. And it's that dynamics of expansion which is shaping this stuff, because this logic is inherently conspiracist, because that's how fascists work.
And like in real practical, on the ground, in front of you sense. I mean, when we've got these elections coming up, a bunch of gender criticals are just like, well, I'm going to vote conservative because, and some of them are doing it because they're single issue trans. Some of them are doing it because they've been won over to it. And, you see it in all this kind of small scale stuff. And then they start mixing with these people who don't like wokeism or whatever that fucking means. And then they're retweeting them. And then lots of them don't like critical race theory. And suddenly you're shoulder to shoulder with them. And you've been trained not to call out any of your political allies.
Yes.
And that is just back to the general topic of gender critical. One of the things they do much better than us in every sense is organize. But another thing they do.
I mean, I was being a little bit facetious with that. Maybe we can get into this discussion a little bit more in a second. But please, let's
go on to that. But so another thing they do better in the sense of raw strategy without context, because this is actually like a worse thing to do morally, is they do not call each other out.
Yeah.
They will absolutely just refuse to condemn even the most extreme, unambiguous garbage.
Yes.
And it makes them a united front. It means that they can have people who do consider themselves left wing and people who do consider themselves right wing, anti-feminists standing next to people who think abortion is an important. And then they radicalize them all into some kind of soup, where they end up agreeing with like the general reactionary vibe, and then they stop being so feminist and stuff. But it's one of their strengths. I mean, I personally think it's a moral failing to not I call out fucking trans people all the time. I'll come for all of you. Like, say one wrong thing, mate. But like, it's just important. People, when I do something wrong, people tell me.
Yeah.
And if they're not like try to ruin my life, then good. Now I know. Now I'm better, innit?
But your political project is to build towards having people who are accountable, who are trying to improve and who are trying to make a better world. And their project is to gain as much power as fast as possible. And for those purposes, not calling anyone out is obviously is an obvious huge boon.
On organizing, go on to organize.
I don't think so. I think it's actually an uncomplicated statement that they have been more successful in their organizing, but I think that there are really important nuances that we need to work through that apply both in the US and UK contexts. And the first one is just huge. Like, they have money. Like, if you have money, organizing is really easy, and this is why people call out astroturfing, because organizing isn't like the same game, even slightly. It's not just, it's, as they say, not in the same ballpark. It's just a different entire league. It's a different sport. Like, if you have money, you can just throw an event and just like have people show up for free, and people who are just like mildly curious, but you printed like 20,000 leaflets and just like flyered the entire community, and now they're showing up to your like open town hall sponsored by the same developers who want to kick out all of the poorest people in your community to put up expensive condos that no one will ever live in, right? But you have all the money to like bring people to that event, to throw the event, to fly people to get to the event, to provide food at the event, and then to hire like a public speaker who is really experienced in winning over a crowd to agree with you. And then suddenly the whole community loves the idea of these condos and loves the idea of gentrification. And it's like organizing, right, is being done there, but like in the crudest sense, but not in the political sense that we're really familiar with the term, right? It's like in the same way that a company organizes events, organizing is being done, but not in the same way that like a person trying to actually like engage in activism, engage in what we call organizing. Like when my series organizing interviews, like when we're talking about organizing, we're talking about people who aren't starting with a resource pool that they can, a seemingly bottomless resource pool they can draw from to do as much fucking damage as they want. So I just think that's a really important nuance. Like,
Well, I think another thing that warps my perspective on this, I think you're right, and it's perhaps an angle I haven't considered before, so I do need to think about it more. But I think another way you saying that, which warps my perspective on this, is they have uncritical support of the media. So when they host a group and a meeting, I hear about it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the like Liverpool trans community is doing, unless one of them gets in my DMs and is like, "Hey, can you promote this?" But I hear about Women's Place UK meetings because the Guardian will write an article about it.
Right, of course. I mean, what was it? The Guardian reporting on Boris Johnson's transphobic comments the other day. My stream the other day where I got really mad and then said I wouldn't stream for a while was about Boris Johnson's thing. So
She's back!
I was just particularly mad that I knew people would be covering it a lot. And it's just like, oh, Boris Johnson hates trans people? Wow, that's news. But when The Guardian reported on it, The Guardian just, the headline was just like, Boris Johnson says biological males shouldn't compete in female sports. Like, The Guardian has been kind of on one recently with just being like clear on what fucking side they're on.
Well, The Guardian is kind of mixed because I ended up in a Guardian article a while ago and I haven't read it because I can't consume anything I'm involved in because yuck. But like if anyone reads it, I've heard that it's quite good, and the journalist I talked to was really nice and supportive. And
that's nice to hear.
So I think like the Times, the Daily Mail, like it's not just a lost cause; it's a fucking joke to consider them anything other than permanently anti-trans. But like the Guardian is kind of more like a lost cause, but they still have some people. They have
right, and I have a friend who sits down and has long conversations with orphans about like what their hopes and dreams are and how to plan their future, and he also sets fire to orphanages. So it is mixed, is the thing. He is quite a complicated person.
I think, well, your friend is quite complicated, but what I'm saying is The Guardian is fucking shit. Like fuck off. However, what I'm saying is every single person who works for the Daily Mail is the kind of person you should throw your drink over at a party. That's not an actual thing. That's just a general jokey comment. But some of the people at the Guardian are genuinely good people who are trapped in this bullshit political game going on internally. And I think they are, despite both being net negative and both drastically contributing to anti-LGBT sentiment in the UK and rising hate crimes, they are different in some way.
Yeah.
And I guess it's similar to like the difference between like maybe like the difference between the Labour and the Conservatives. You know, Labour's failing hard, but lots of them do genuinely care.
Yeah, well, I think I've known this for a while, and I had it confirmed for me by people who work at the Guardian. But like the structure is more or less that the vast majority of people who work at the Guardian are normal human beings, and then there's like the editorial team who are like super dedicated TERFs who want to control the output to make it as trans hostile as possible.
One thing that surprised me, and I guess I need to word this carefully, Holyrood magazine have been consistently gender critical and they just randomly reached out to me and were like, "Do you want to write an article for us?" I was like, "Okay," and they just like published it, and like the editors retweeted it and stuff, and like I was just really like, I don't know, it's just really weird that when that happens, because like obviously some of these good articles get through. Like at the BBC, no good trans articles get through. They've obviously got a very strict editor team, but like the Guardian, Holyrood, some of the others, obviously somehow they get these decent articles through as well.
I don't mean to sound like a jaded cynic and to just like it seem like I'm just like telling you you've been naive or anything like this, but I do.
Oh, do it. I gotta learn, innit?
I do have a serious concern that the reason I said my thing about when you're saying about the Guardian is that like it's cover. Like anything good they publish is cover. It's not like you can view it as like a tug of war between the good people there and the bad people there, and that might be in some senses a valid analysis, but like I'm very concerned about that with like something that with an outlet who've been nothing but gender critical, unless they are completely switching and will be nothing but positive and fighting against gender criticals. Like you get diminishing returns if you're only a gender critical outlet or only a gender critical public figure. But if you are sometimes good towards trans people, then some people see that, and then they see your next hateful article, and it gets way more attention because people are going, "This neutral outlet just published this thing," you know.
And it's plausible deniability to say we're not transphobic. We just published Kate Montgomery Webb. I did consider, this was.
But it's not just plausible deniability. I think that this is a more kind of significant part of the strategy. Is like that cover. It's not just like they can point to it if anybody asks. I think it overall helps them literally get more clicks to put both sides of the debate up, right? What were you gonna say, Tia?
Oh, just it's like Tucker Carlson would call any reporting or any sort of legislation against landlords, socialism, communism.
Right.
You know, he'd call it a descent into whatever degeneracy words that he uses.
Yeah.
But occasionally he is critical of landlords in segments, right?
Right, because then people who are critical of landlords will watch him, right?
Yes.
Like people who haven't necessarily thought things through very much, but they're like a little bit critical, and they're like, well, he said that good thing, so I'll keep on listening, and I'll get an informed perspective because this guy values both sides. Like, this is exactly how centrists always, like, this is why centrists suck so bad. Because they think they're being like more informed and more rational and more nuanced, but like sometimes like the reality is just entirely one-sided, and the other side are just bigots or landlords.
I mean, this is a really interesting discussion that I've and like debate I've been having with myself, and I'm absolutely accepting everyone's feedback and arguments here. So if anyone has a take on this, I'm genuinely interested to hear it. But like, I think that there are this is my current position, is that there are times in political landscapes where you go in and write in an article for the other side or appearing on someone's platform or going on debating. So there are times when that is just ridiculous because you're just doing all these things we've just said. And there are other times where and this is probably a really bad example to give, but like when you're a ridiculous group like the BNP or something, you have nothing.
Yeah.
And if you want to get your idea out there, then just taking any platform, it can make a difference. And I feel like, and this is why I shouldn't use the BNP, because I'm saying like trans people are just like the BNP. No, but like
when you're a fringe political group, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, in the UK we are so like wall to wall anti-trans.
Yeah.
I feel the decision I've made, and this is constantly under review per outlet, per journalist, per like day. I think the feeling I have in general is that we need to get in front of people, and I think it's more important than the strategy of like, because we've done this kind of like, oh, we're not gonna go on any of these platforms, and there's still ones that I won't go on, obviously, but the trans people are like, oh, we're not gonna talk to any transphobic media outlets, and it's like, well, then you will have no media, and that's bad. So
I mean, 300 people are watching us right now. Like,
yeah, wow.
We don't have no media.
That's as many as GB News.
We don't have no. Well, I mean, like if we are comparing like fringe outlet to fringe outlet, like we can actually create a space which is our outlet, and where people who are coming there are listening to us, not to the the thing that is platforming us, right? I just think so. I have a friend who's been out for a while who has also been very engaged with the politics of queerness that whole time, and has been like around for all these discourses, and she's always pointing out how tediously cyclical they are, because basically a lot of new baby queers come in and have a galaxy brain moment where they're like, whoa, maybe this is a good idea. And she sort of said, like, she said to me that, like, it was considered resolved, like, about 8 years ago, that people just weren't going to talk to any outlet that had, like, queerphobic coverage. And then after a period of silence, like, new people popped up who were like, but maybe we need to get in front of as many people as possible. And I just think that, like, we can, but there is strategy that we can engage with that doesn't involve us making that compromise that, like, genuinely puts more attention on hateful bigots. Like, what we're doing literally right now, right, is when we collaborate, when you're on my channel, the algorithm is like, these people watching like to watch Katie and they like to watch Sophie. And when there's a Katie video, I'll recommend them a Sophie video afterwards. And when there's a Sophie video, I'll recommend them a Katie video afterwards. And if people click either way round, I'll keep on doing that and I'll make that association work, right? And so there are lessons that we can learn from the far right, and there are lessons that we can't learn because we're trying to do a different thing, right? Like, this is why I wanted to have that conversation about, like, where they've been better at organizing than us, because there are places where, like, they've been better at organizing than us, but, like, they can only they can do it. Like, we can't copy it. And I think that, like, engaging in the debate, including going and speaking through outlets that sorry, this is, like, I feel bad. I'm kind of tensing up over this because, like, now I'm just being critical of your behavior, and I don't want to, like, just be, like, chastising you on stream. It's
just mate, chastise away and then finish up with, and you're fucking ugly and you smell. no, it's I think,
Katie, you're stunning, and I'm sure you smell lovely. And I also think that when we engage in the debate in any capacity, we lose. And when they get more people to engage in the debate in any capacity, they win. Just asking questions, right, is an obviously facetious troll tactic that fascists love, because who is ever just asking questions? The answer to a question necessarily matters. Otherwise, you wouldn't be asking it, right? And the purpose of a debate and allowing a debate to go on at all is to, you know, there is a purpose, and it is being deliberately disguised, and the purpose is to
the
exterminate
context
us.
is more important than the arguments. No, I appreciate all of this discussion. I'm not taking this personally, by the way.
Okay. I'm good to hear that.
I think it's this isn't like, I totally hear you on, like, baby queers come out and then they're like, oh, I'm going to do a thing, and everyone's like, oh, for God's sake. I mean, like, that just happens all the time.
Yeah.
People, message me and I'm like, nah, mate, done this, and I've gone through a phase of that, and it would be naive of me to say that I'm completely on the other side, because everyone thinks that all the time. But, like, this is absolutely something that I've discussed at length with a huge range of people. And it's like an ongoing discussion, and it's an ongoing decision I'm having personally. And I feel like the sections of the trans community are, and it's good to have these out. So for people watching, it's good, but it's also good for me personally. So, but selfishly, I am enjoying this part of the discussion the most, because it's the bit where I can, like, engage with, because, like, I can rant away all I like about what I think, but when people are coming in with different angles, I mean, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm literally just a bell end who argues, and I just happen to be trans, and I happen to be here, and this is how I'm in whatever position I have. I'm not an expert on this, so I've got to hear from all these different people, and I think everyone else has too, about what these strategies are.
I just want to make sure that we have the same basic position on something before I make assumptions about what you think. What do you think of the trans debate?
What do I think of it?
The trans
I think it's
debate.
really good. I love it. I think it's garbage. I mean, like, it's the whole well, I mean, yeah, well, I guess I've just got a generic position. Like, we shouldn't be debating whether we should have equal rights.
Right. So essentially, my point is that you contributing to an outlet that also publishes purely, like, it publishes other articles that are purely anti-trans, and then you're publishing something that's purely pro-trans. That's a debate. Like, you're engaging in a debate, you know. And
well, I guess my position elaborated is like, I mean, we shouldn't. There's lots of things we shouldn't have to do, but there are sometimes like pragmatic times when you have to do stuff. Like I should not have to clean the dishes, but it's an unfortunate thing that you have to do in life.
But debating turfs, like, isn't you cleaning the dishes? Like, it's the dishes getting their stink all over you. Like, it's not like,
well, yeah,
you don't
said
come away
it's
from
not
it.
nice.
And dirty dishes.
But I think that it's not as straightforward as like whether like, oh, come debate me on GB News, and you go in and then they win. I mean, they win on the fact that you turn up, and it doesn't matter what anyone says.
Right.
Like absolutely. But I think that there is lots of aspects to this. For example, providing counter arguments to their positions does help change some people's minds, and that doesn't mean like I totally agree with you. Like if I get invited onto GB News all the time. If I go onto GB News and I provide this absolutely smashing argument and I make them look like idiots, they still win.
Yes.
Because I went on GB News. Like I totally hear you on that. And like you say, a way of providing counter arguments is for us to have this discussion now, and that's like, you know, all the stuff we've done so far. But I do feel like there are some other things like something I do a lot of is engaging with gender critical people on a more like one-to-one level and attempting to change their minds.
Yeah.
And like other things I do are providing resistance, because I think that when you are not part of like the activist community or however you want to describe it, you're just a random trans kid and you open up internet and every single fucking news outlet is posting this garbage.
Yeah.
I think it's good to see someone in the comments going brawling and humiliating people.
Yeah.
And being like, your arguments are done. So
if we want to be clear about this, my position on the posting war is I support the troops. I completely admire our brave troops in the front lines. Can't be done. You can't log off. No, absolutely. No, I entirely support you arguing in Twitter replies and in comment sections. I completely do.
Don't tell me that.
I do. No, I unironically do. I completely and entirely support people getting into those one-on-one arguments. And when our existence and our rights and our humanity is the subject of a debate in a public forum, firstly, obviously, and you already know this, like, there's no capacity for you to win over the person you're actually talking to. But secondly, like, anyone who is watching who already agrees with you is open to be won over by them. Furthermore, like, they are just using that conversation to grow their platform. Furthermore, they are just using your presence there to grow the legitimacy of that conversation. Like, it's not... We can build more attention, and we're doing it literally right now. Like, more people are watching this stream than watch like any of my other streams, because we're talking. Like, we're several people talking, and right now we're conflicting, and I'm sure loads of people fucking love it. You know, like we're debating right now, and people do love to watch this shit. But like, it's helping us. It's helping both of us, and you be happy if I get more attention, right? And you know, I'll be happy if you get more attention, right? But if you
that
go
means
into
we're gonna turn this into a real beef where we hate each other.
Well, but you would be happy if I benefited from this argument financially, and in terms of social capital, and in terms of attention on me, and likewise, you know, vice versa. But if you went on a stream with Posey Parker, you would not be happy for her to benefit in any way from it. But you know that she would be.
Yeah, I know that she would benefit, like, financially or whatever. I think another motivation. So, like, just continue in this discussion, unless either chat or everyone's not sick of it. I guess because I don't want to be just talking about me, it's kind of lame. But like a motivation.
It's talking about organizing strategy. It's not just talking about.
Yeah. I mean, it's organizing strategy and like not debate strategy, but it's
I want to give Tier a word in Edgeways.
Yes.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, so what we're actually gonna end up like even if we end up differing on whether or not any of these strategies are worthwhile, like because our end goals are aligned, the sort of like presence of people who are aligned with us in the debate is it has benefits, but it also has downsides, and whether or not you think those downsides are worth it, and whether or not you think those
Yeah,
benefits
that's yeah.
are worth it, and personally ends up being where you behave. And some people want to be involved in the posting war, and some of them want to be involved in the debate, and in the end, it is not our place to tell the people who think that they can do good in the debate to not even try, and because they want to try, they want to fight, and that's a good thing. And so if the whoever it was that was interviewed by the author of that horribly transphobic BBC article that made all the hubbub hadn't accepted the interview, we never would have like found out about the fact that they had the opportunity to not include
Hmm.
the worst information in there, and they
Yeah.
chose to do it anyway. And that created a lot of like good like it is what it is, good propaganda for our team to show their
Mm.
like blatant hypocrisy.
Okay, but
By the
follow
way, that
through
person
if yeah.
is Chelsea Poe,
Yes.
who was interviewed by Caroline Lowbridge, who was the journalist who wrote the article. And if you're interested in what's going on, I have a video on my channel where I interview Chelsea Poe, and the like zinger from the interview is Caroline Lowbridge lied about not having any trans people responding to her,
Yeah.
and then the BBC lied about not knowing that Lily Cade was a serial rapist.
Yeah.
And they interviewed Chelsea Poe, who is a trans woman, and she told the BBC about but yeah, anyway, yeah, no, so one of my other positions, which is
Sorry,
I'm
but
constantly-
I need to say this, like, but if Chelsea had been in the article, then the article would be more of a balanced perspective that people who want a nuanced take on the trans issue, right? Like,
yeah,
you can't
no,
like
no, I hear you, I hear you on
like
that.
no, I'm
Yeah.
responding to Tier on this. Like you if yes, if she'd never been interviewed, then we wouldn't have blah blah blah. But like if she'd been interviewed and then been included, Caroline Lowbridge's article would be a more successful contribution to attacks on trans people. Like as it is, as it stands, and it's still up, by the way, and the BBC
Yeah,
are
it's
just
plainly
disgusting
extremist.
scum. But like, as it stands, it is just end to end calling trans women rapists by definition, because it buys into the get the L out ideology, which is that like all attempts for men to be women, as they phrase it, right, is a violation of the notion of womanhood and the existence of trans women
Or
is rape,
sacred
according
feminine
to them, right?
essence.
And
Yeah.
like as it is, that's all it exists as. If there was a trans person who liked trans people rather than just Debbie Hayton in there, like then it would
And Rose
be.
of Dawn.
Right, yeah, true, right? Like if there were any trans people who like trans people included and interviewed in there, more people would be reading it and saying, "Well, but it was balanced." And it would be harder for us to illustrate to people how hateful the article is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like a good example of that would be with
Well,
global warming. If you like do an article where you're just like global warming's fake now, it would be
Uh-huh.
a fucking joke. Whereas if the BBC did a both sides, it would cause more damage.
Yeah, absolutely. I
would
mean, like, and then you get diminishing returns the more times that you publish patently false climate denial, right? You get diminishing returns because the first time you do it, people go, "Holy shit, the BBC's publishing climate denial," and then the second time you do it, people go, "I guess the BBC just denies climate change now," and then the third time they do it, people go, "The BBC published climate denial again," and the fourth time, no one fucking cares. But if the BBC is alternately having a desperate like climate scientist who's going like, "Holy shit, why are you publishing climate denial?" like in an article on their website going like, "Help, we need to win back over the BBC and you can do it, just come and get involved," then people are suddenly way more invested in the BBC and like
But maybe you can do it, and maybe it's
Uh,
situational. But yeah,
let
sorry,
me
go on, mate.
let me hit you with this. If Chelsea Poe had said anything that could have provided nuance to the issue in the way that you're talking about, they would have included it, right?
uh
Yeah.
Sorry,
Singer.
if she
If she
I'm trying to follow
presented
the
even
point.
a sound bite
Uh-huh.
that would have
They would have put it in.
that would have been nuanced enough for the issue in the way that they were trying to present it, i.e., that challenged it without rebutting it.
Mm-hmm.
They would have tried to fit it in, right? If it had improved the rhetorical point that was being made, like
Well, they wouldn't
That's
have
interesting
because she also
because
said that
I-
Lily Kate is a serial rapist, and so if she was acknowledged at all, right, then it would be a bigger deal. Like the harm that is done to the article by them having
This
interviewed her but cut her out would be way more, and that's why they didn't include anything that she said.
this is interesting because I think this is like a an analysis that I was trying to make on these, like anyone who comes out with these things. It's like, are they strategic enough to be like, oh, if I include a trans person, then my point will be stronger, or are they full
Right.
fucking gender critical brain rot?
And I think it's the latter.
You can well, I mean, it just in general, like case by
Sure,
case. I
but in
think
Karen
that,
and Lowbridge's case, I think it's clearly the latter, and we're attributing her
I
with
think
way
she's
too
full on
much.
brain rot.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. The latter. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think she's like,
So I don't think she would have included.
she's not smart
Chelsea
enough.
Poet
I think
anyway.
Tia, you're
Yeah.
giving her way too much credit. Like, saying
Just
if
taste
it could have been
value.
strengthened that way, then she would have. Like, no, she wouldn't have.
And you can see that because and this is one of the examples where I've spent way too much time around gender critical people. I could have written that article way more persuasively than she did. Like I could have written it better and like done things like include some trans people think and all this kind of stuff, and not platformed a genocidal rapist. Again, not hyperbolic, literally.
Yes,
a
yeah.
genocidal
She
rapist.
published a manifesto calling for the execution of all trans women, and the lynching, her word not mine, of public figures who are trans women.
And called for the rape of Jazz
Oh, the
Jennings'
gang
mum.
rape of
Yeah,
a
yeah.
mother of a trans child. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, but
Again, her words not mine.
yeah, yes, exactly. And so this is oh, where was I going with? I was saying like seeing what level of brain rot someone is, like Caroline Lowbridge was definitely just past the line on brain rot because it's when you have a difference between, oh, they follow most of the big gender criticals, but they also follow most of the LGBT orgs and some big trans people. Like, oh, this person's obviously sympathetic to gender critical, but they'll kind of be scary because they can nuance in their point. When you click on their profile and it's like adult human female, women won't we, green, white, like you're too brain rot to strategy. Like you are just hate trans people.
Right. So is the editor of Holyrood magazine pulling a strategy? Are they smart enough to be pulling a strategy and getting more attention for their magazine, or are they fully brain rot?
I'm gonna no comment and just say I made a decision at the time factoring these things in.
But it's
whether
not
that
about.
was a good decision.
I'm not
or
trying to judge your decisions as morally good or morally
Oh no,
bad.
that's not why I'm not saying.
We're trying
this.
to talk
it's
about
just-
future strategy. I think that you're saying that this is open to review and that you constantly review your position on this.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to say I think I have a position on this that I'd like you to consider, which is that is the editor of that magazine fully brain rot, or are they smart enough to strategize?
Right,
It doesn't matter what they intend to do. It is a successful strategy for them to bring in trans people and bring in transphobes and encourage the trans debate. And it makes them money, and they like having money, right?
They didn't pay me.
Incidental, they didn't pay Katie.
No, I've never made any money from any of this stuff. Like, I get
Then,
YouTube money and
like-
I donate it, and that's it. Yeah.
They make money off it, and incidentally it contributes to the war on trans people and the exterminationist project, and they don't even really care about that because the they I'm talking about is the entity without mind, memory, or center, which is a capital-driven corporation. It doesn't have thoughts, it doesn't have dreams, it doesn't have aspirations or
Well-
feelings. It just wants the money, and when it gets the
That's
money,
not
that's good.
quite. I guess it's so. I think me and Tia were talking about this when you
Okay.
before we went on air. Maybe when you were like going to the toilet or something. I think generally kind of stepping back. Absolutely, all of these organizations care about money, but when you get into the full-on brain rot territory, they start caring about hurting trans people. Some of them, including some of the editors, care about that more than money.
Okay.
And I think that is
So it's somewhere
genuine...
between making money and killing trans people as a byproduct and killing trans people as the intention.
Yeah, and there were like when it's a big corporation, like
Mhm.
Daily Mail. Obviously, they have shareholders. That capitalism is such a strong force. However, lots of them involved have harming trans people as a significant portion of their motivation.
Mhm.
Like it's not just like, oh, it's a byproduct. This is the most profitable thing. It's like
Mhm.
I fucking hate trans people and I like money, so let's combine that into one thing. So I
Mhm.
think it's important to see that like
So
as a
what you're
motivational force.
saying is that the outlets are but either trying actively to kill trans people or want to make money and harming trans people as a byproduct. That's my
I
point,
suspect
right?
it's
Is that
it's like a
like
mix of the two to
if
freak
it's
out
a
the
mix,
other.
if it's either of those, then you should. Then that's what I'm trying to say. Like if it's either of those, one's bad and the other's worse, right? Like,
Yeah, but this is like one of these situations where like I've got like the most ridiculous analogy lined up and I can't think of another one, so I'm going for it.
please do.
One time
Uh huh.
I did paintballing and I do not
Okay.
enjoy paintballing
Uh
and I
huh.
do not know, but we did some so paintballing is like a thing where you shoot paint at each other and we had some mission. This probably isn't even going to make any sense, but I don't really like it and I was just like whatever, I can take the pain from this. So I just put my gun down and ran into like the other part of the like field or whatever,
Uh huh.
and everyone was like blah 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 blah. Um, and like I moved the flag a little bit or whatever, and we ended up winning the thing. But like so many people wasted so much ammo shooting me, and it hurt for like a few minutes,
Uh
whatever.
huh.
But I went. It's like going up and getting into a situation where they'll say loads of personal abuse and all this kind of stuff, but you like
Move the
do
flag a
something when
little bit.
you're in their territory.
Hmm.
It's much different to when you can cause like a more damage than you would do in a even battle by going into their territory and like strategically kicking down a foundation or something. I know this was complete garbage. This is what happens when I'm trying to consider it, but like yeah, that's kind of what I was going for. Is that sometimes when you're in a situation where it's just platforming all of this wank all the time, going up and saying something different means that they'll actually read it and be like, "What the fuck?" And like it's like more information. If it's just constantly the same thing over and over, it's like what you're saying for sure. On one side, it makes them more credible, but on the other side, that's the one that the libs will read. I don't know.
It's
But
like
yeah.
it's like John Brown going up against all of slavery because it was the right thing to do. He could not win. There was no possible way that he could win on his own, but he couldn't stand to not try at least because it was the thing that he was able to do and that made sense to him.
That is one of
It's
the
a
things that does drive me to do all of this. Is I just feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I just feel like I have to do something, and I know
Yeah.
that's
I'm not trying to tell you
desperation. It
not to
makes
do
you make bad.
anything. I'm
No,
trying
no,
to
I
talk about what's
appreciate
like
that.
actually worthwhile and
Yeah,
actually
and that's
does move the flag because that's what I'm trying to like get at is
yeah,
in your analogy there are a finite number of
my
people with a finite
terrible analogy.
amount of. I know I'm gonna dissect the frog. No one cares, and the frog dies. It's right. Um, in your analogy, there are a finite number of people with a finite amount of ammo that they are wasting firing on you,
Part of the
and
strategy. Yeah.
then you move the flag forward. So you need to assess in rhetorical terms what you're trying to get across is that there are two things that you're doing, right? Making them waste their time and moving the flag. Well, so firstly, I would argue it's your time that's being wasted above anybody else's because like who is it who are spending any time hurling abuse at you, hurling insults, getting mad at the article, anything like this? It's like people who it's a bottomless reserve of transphobes who are like just right Gavin from Croydon just like furious at his keyboard, right? Like it's not it's his time being wasted is like he's seeking out trans people to yell at no matter what, and he would read the article that tells him trans people are bad and then get mad and leave a comment saying saying he agrees, or he would read the article by you and then call you some slurs in the comments instead. Like he's wasting his time either way, right? But now additionally you're wasting your
But
time maybe, or maybe you're moving the
but
flag forward,
he
but then we got to
yeah
argue.
because he's wasted like there's two ways for like his
Uh-huh.
time waste is being spent. One is it's better spent on me than some 17-year-old kid who just came out last week. Like
Yes.
I'm much more
Yes.
able to take it. But also, so and this is probably going to make you cringe even more, but the same week that they published my article, they
Uh-huh.
published an article by Debbie Hayton
Okay, great. Yep,
on the
cool.
same topic. So definitely just contributing to the debate. No, that is a valid point that I considered in advance, by the way. But my article was for the platform way more controversial. And I wasn't centrist about anything.
Mhm.
And it was their top read article for like 2 days. It was, their top tweet for like weeks.
Mhm.
And Debbie Hayton's one came out. Like my one got like 3,000 likes, like 300 comments, whatever. Loads calling me, whatever. But it got so much engagement.
Mhm.
And Debbie Hayton's one had 180 likes, or whatever.
Mhm.
And I totally agree that this netted Holyrood money and it got them attention as an outlet and etc. etc. But also, it was like from the point of view of not me, because I don't gain anything from this, but from my contribution to the cause, trans rights, whatever. That was one of the most impactful things I have done. So it's like it got it in front of more eyes, and for sure some of them would have been Gavin's from Croydon. If there's any Gavins and Croydon from chat, shout out. But it for sure it did. But there were also lots of people who that wasn't the case for.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I feel like I'm weighing it up. So I think with things like this, I think what's important to do is consider all of my motivations, even if they're garbage, analyze them. Some of them will be garbage, throw them away, and then look at all of the arguments against, and look at, and some of them will be garbage and throw them away, and then weigh them up. And maybe I made the decision, and now hearing more points, I would make a decision differently. I don't know. I'm gonna have to obviously think about it, but I had considered these arguments, or at least the supersets of these arguments, in advance. But I think that it isn't, or from my position or my current view is, it's not like, oh, hard no. It's like, if you make a load of good arguments, it's going to flip over to like the Brexit ratio the other way, rather than, it's like pros and cons rather than like a all cons situation.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't know.
I think there are pros, and I don't want to entirely throw out everything like that you did in this thing. I don't want to just like talk as if it's like absolutely has no positives to it. I think you're completely right that like if Gavin from Croydon is attacking you, he is not spending his time attacking some poor trans kid who just came out. I think you're right. I think you're right about
Gavin.
that to some extent, although I think it's small. I think you're right that some number of Gavins from Croydon are hearing from a trans woman who loves herself and loves trans people for the first time, and that's a big deal. I also think that that's a positive. I just think that growing your platform that is yours is the most important driving thing of this, and ultimately, like,
As in, you think that's the most significant one I should consider,
in
or
the culture
you're saying
war,
that
in
that's
the
what I did?
media war, in all of this like battle of like getting attention.
Yeah.
If Holyrood magazine does not get significantly bigger, and you do get significantly bigger, that's a win.
That's not good. Yeah. No, so I agree with that. And that's one of these
Yeah.
things where you should only really go on these garbage platforms if they're much bigger than you.
What you're describing is throughput of information disseminated.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. I think that the assessment of something like this, it's if it was a much bigger platform, like you say, then because of it, your YouTube channel gets tons more subscribers, right? And that's all Gavins from Croydon. It's all of them, right? And that next time that you put out a video, right, then you put out your what's the plural noun?
Gavin's is Gavos, because it's Greek.
Gavos. Next time you put out a video, like, let's say next time you put out your video and it's the one I mentioned earlier, right? Like, I'm trans and I used to be transphobic. Like, then all these Gavins are watching and they're thinking, well, I'm transphobic now, and I thought that there was this complete divide between these crazy trans people who tell everyone they're transphobic and me, who's normal. and now I'm seeing that actually Katie's normal. You know, and that's great. That genuinely, like, that's progress. That is definitely moving the flag, and I completely agree with that, right? And then on the other hand, right, there's Holyrood Magazine, and so then it's like, if you're someone who's going to draw a bunch of people to look at them, right, and this is the diminishing returns factor, which I'm not sure. I think I don't mean to. So I'm not trying to undermine your assessment of factors.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
I'm trying to talk about. I don't see this one talked about, so I'm really talking to chat more. Like,
Hi, chat.
diminishing returns is a really important factor here. J.K. Rowling, as I said earlier, every time she does something turfy, it will get diminishing returns. No one fucking cares. Oh, J.K. Rowling went to the, where the fuck is it? This thing? No. There we go. There she is, right? Like, yeah, she's going to the turf wine lunch, right? Like, no one cares because they already know she's a turf now, right? So it's not really that big a deal because it's not like groundbreakingly, like, it's shocking and it's confirming what loads of people knew, and people are talking about it, but way less than would have been talking about it if she just did this out of the blue. If this was the first time she ever hinted that she was a turf, this would be like the news for a week, right?
Yeah.
And the same is true of Holyrood Magazine. You know, they publish more and more trans hate. And then, like, if you are bigger than them and then a whole ton of liberals come and read your article and they're thinking, oh, actually Holyrood Magazine sometimes is nuanced on this, I'll see the balanced opinion, right? Maybe I'll see some of the things that anti-trans activists are saying that are valid, but lesser ones I'm expecting. I'm not expecting to be convinced into genocide. And I'll also see some valid things that trans people are saying, probably the bigger things. I care about trans people. And then they're reading Holyrood Magazine, and then they're being exposed to tons of anti-trans propaganda constantly, right? And so the diminishing returns factor is really important. And I'm not trying to say, therefore, that you shouldn't have done the thing. I'm trying to say this is how we can figure out the assessment, right? Do you contribute to them then getting to escape their diminishing returns? And
more than they contribute to my platform.
Exactly. It's that back and forth, right?
I do agree that that's kind of the way, because I've thought about this before. Like, there's some of the, like, proper big conservatives, like Matt Walsh or Ben, I don't know what I was going to call them, then Ben Shapiro or whatever, like, getting quote tweeted by them in my current position would probably be net positive, I think, because I'll go brawling for a couple of hours with all their dumb fans and stuff. There would be a load of people who hate Ben Shapiro, who have never encountered trans rights really as a thing before, who might follow me off it, and it would grow my platform. And, like, sometimes getting targeted, it's like the classic, which, you know, I didn't necessarily agree with, but, like, all press is good press. Like, sometimes there's a situation where you going on a platform that is so much bigger than you is just net positive. And that's one of, and this is why you have to constantly reevaluate it, because, like, I got a silly amount of followers now on Twitter, and you just have to change. You have to change how you make these decisions and act all the time. And I'm because I love arguing, I'm envious of all these accounts with like 150 followers, because you can go up and you can say whatever the fuck you want to anyone. No one's pre-blocked you. No one's gonna bother suing you. And, like, no one's gonna consider your dumb take as, like, a failure on the entire community. Like, go brawling, mates. You're living the dream.
Like, so I'm I want to then contrast that against what's happening literally right now, where we're having a conflict and people in chat are taking different sides, and maybe they're flipping back and forth between sides, and it's great. People are fucking into it, and they're having a discussion and they're feeling really engaged.
Hashtag Team Katie.
And as I say, like, the algorithm is getting trained off of this to associate the three of us with each other, and to recommend people stuff based on that. And
also, speaking of that, there's my the link to my channel, so go ahead and follow there.
please do subscribe to Tia. She is very smart, and I love her videos. Set the shallow says, I think there's a bit of a false dichotomy here. The far right grew a lot of their own media spaces by exploiting existing media spaces to funnel people into their movements. You can't grow your media spaces in a vacuum. No, so you're wrong, and you should delete your account. So here's why.
I'm interested in why. Let
So
me know.
it's two things. You are factually historically wrong, and you are also wrong about the dynamics going on. So I'll start with the latter.
And you smell.
And you smell plus L plus British. So you so someone said that tier is a bit low, so I'm just turn her up. So the dynamics going on. Okay, we cannot copy the far right in every strategy, because we are espousing an ideology based on
fucking shit.
we are espousing an ideology based on reality, and they're espousing an ideology based on lies and trickery and hucksterism. It benefits, say, a climate denier to be platformed alongside a climate scientist. It extremely massively harms a climate scientist and the ability to save the planet from climate apocalypse for a climate scientist to be platformed alongside a climate denier. Leftism should not be platformed alongside market liberalism, conservatism, monarchism, or fascism any more than a climate scientist should be platformed alongside a climate denier. We cannot copy the strategy of debate that the far right engaged in the same way, because their talking points are sticky, right? Their rhetorical strategy is sticky, and the more they can expose people who don't agree with them to it, the more it spreads around and sticks to every surface, right? That's why people say don't touch the poop, right?
That's not the only reason people say that.
Well, no, I mean it's only true in that context and no other context. And then secondly, as I said, historically you're wrong, because actually in terms of the kinds of media personalities that we are, alt media personalities on social media, our equivalents are people like bringing back friend of the channel, Carl of Swindon, Sargon of Akkad, right? People like him grew their platforms through online debate and online discussion. One of those we can copy, as I say, right? One of those we cannot. So we're having this discussion right now amongst ourselves, and that's really good. It is not true to say what you said in chat. I'm sorry for going so hard on you right now, Set the Shallow. But what you said, you can't grow your media spaces in a vacuum, is literally not true. Because of the miracle of social media, a ton of people who just start channels who are really dedicated to it, right? Who all watch each other's videos. If 1,000 people started channels, all subscribed to one another, all watched each other's videos, and constantly guested on each other's channels and had live streams and debates with one another but with nobody else, right? Their channels would grow enormously and very quickly, because the algorithm eats that shit up like it's crack. Like, seriously, what we're doing right now is one of the best things we can possibly do.
So do you think that we should just manufacture that?
I mean, what if we... Yes, why did I invite you on, Katie? This is literally what I'm doing. Like,
but you might have been big brain in this, but I was just like, oh yeah, I like her. I'll talk about trans stuff. No, but like, I mean, maybe you're already doing it explicitly, but maybe you just need to fold me into the mix more. But like, literally just get a group chat of like 100 people and be like, right, here's what we're all going to do. We're all going to release one video a month. We're all going to guest on one other person's thing a month. We're all going to like and subscribe.
If I had the popularity on the online left, I would be literally doing that. I am doing the equivalent of that with the social influence that I do have. And I have been pretty explicit about this. Weekly, we do Red Planet on Kara Chat's channel every Sundays. 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Check it out. And we have people who are, successful online left content creators on as guests to discuss topics that they have some areas of expertise in. And we have organizers on, and it's also me and Kira and DJ Mule and Tim, who are, we're all content creators. So we're all doing that all the time. Like, people think that I hate debate. I
hate watching debates. It's fucking boring.
Yes. Natalie and I met in debate society in university. I'm actually a debate nerd. I actually love debate. And my problems with the existing debate sphere of Twitch politics is not because I hate debates. It's because the people who are involved in the space are completely soulless hucksters who are entirely aimed at growing their own influence and don't care even slightly about a leftist project. Someone in chat was saying, please don't, like, debate is good, actually. Earlier when we started having this discussion, and I was saying, like, this is beneficial to us. But in total seriousness, if there were leftist debaters who would have these kind of entirely friendly internal debates over leftist issues, right, which allowed for, exactly as I say, like, both people entering the space are completely fine with the idea that all their followers could subscribe to the other person at the end, right? Because if you're debating a Nazi, you should not be fine with the possibility that your subscribers could subscribe to the Nazi at the end, right? But if I'm debating, if I have Tier on to debate the differences between, like, the advantages and disadvantages of anarcho-syndicalism versus a centrally planned economy that Marxists propose, right? I would be fine either fucking way. Tier might not. She might actually feel differently about that. But then that would be an ethical, like, thing that she would have to decide whether or not she wanted to let her subscribers potentially get won over to a different position. I've pigeonholed myself as arguing the Marxist side of it when I actually picked anarcho-syndicalism because that's the side I'd much rather argue. Again, I'm a debate nerd, and I do like assuming positions to argue them and to talk through them, and I think it's a really productive way to have a ton of conversations. It's actually how Nat and I talk to each other throughout the day most of the time. Like, we just walk around just yelling about politics, like fucking completely crazy people. Like, we're just, like, out, and that's out in public, and we're saying shit to each other that TERFs say in, like, a barely sarcastic tone as part of a rhetorical point that we're making, and every now and then one of us is like, hey, well, maybe you're yelling.
Every now and then you fuck.
Like, I do like debate, and I think it has its place, and it, has been genuinely useful in, like, development of politics and philosophy for thousands of years. Yes, exactly.
There's difference, like, an exchange of ideas with intellectual people and just, like, doing some showmanship one-up ego. Because I fucking hate all this ego wank of, like, oh, my God, it's going to destroy. I hate it. But just on one of the points you said earlier,
professional wrestling.
What is actually, obviously would be great is if I can go on either of you two's channels and all of my subscribers like you and all of your subscribers like me. But I guess the counterpoint to that, and again, this is a weighing up thing, this isn't me saying one's better than the other or whatever, is likely lots of our audiences already shared, and eventually we've shared our audiences, and then we just got to wait for the trickle to come in. Whereas if I go onto some completely unrelated thing and make a load of noise, I can steal some, like, if you do go onto the Nazis channel, which I'm not at all ever going to do, I'm not recommending, but you might pick up a load of people who are like, I hate this person, but they were interesting. And then 3 years later, they flipped sides. So,
I think we are agreed that
you don't want to be in an echo chamber.
Okay, well, so firstly, who tells us that we shouldn't be in an echo chamber? Secondly,
for in terms of growing, I mean.
Sure, perhaps. Secondly, I don't concede that point yet. Anyway,
yes, maybe.
Secondly, it's okay to be in an echo chamber if what you're if the thing that everyone completely agrees on are scientific facts, like trans people exist and sex is more complicated than just a binary, and you should respect people when they ask you to use their pronouns correctly and things like this. Like, it's okay to be in an echo chamber of agreeing on the most basic human decency. So to put it another way, like what you just said, like, you don't encourage that anyone would go on a Nazi's channel. We do have to weigh up, like, how far away from our position, how far away from anything acceptable the people that we're engaging with are. So I think that maybe we can determine what the factors here are in terms of engaging with transphobic media, right? It's like, are you winning attention off them, or are they winning attention off you? And then there's also how far away from you are they,
And I think that it's like a factor of of both how
Peter
garbage.
P in chat says echo chamber of thinking the Earth is round. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you fucking
Well, you
globe heads in your echo chamber.
But the only reason you can hear the echo is because it's bouncing off the glass dome, isn't it?
It's you can hear the echo because of the hollow, because the hollow space
Hollowness, yeah.
underneath. America is
Where
a
all the
wonderful.
leftists-
America is the best country on Earth because one American president greenlit an expedition to the center of the Earth, and the next American president canceled it, not because he believed in the globe Earth, but because he believed the Earth was flat.
Is that true?
Yes.
I hope that's true.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which presidents these were either. Any two presidents you could say
It was John
would
F.
be
Kennedy and Lyndon B. Johnson. No, imagine if John F. Kennedy was a hollow earther. That would be amazing. If on top of all the conspiracy theories about JFK, he himself was a hollow earther.
Conspiracy theorist.
That would be awesome.
I could definitely see Lyndon B. Johnson and Nixon doing that, though.
I could actually too. No, I actually do see that. However, one of them was Andrew Jackson. I can tell you that. I can't remember the other one.
So I think because it's like a factor of platform size and how extreme their views are, I feel like if it's some like proper centrist garbage, but they're like 10 million or 100 million like audience or something, then that's possibly like just net good, because it's such a big number. And that makes me think like, with GB News, when GB News invited me, my reply to them, it was quite funny actually. They invited a few people at once, and we all posted it into this little activist chat I have. And one of my friends was like, "Oh, I just got this GB News interview," and I was like, "Oh," and I looked on mine and I wrote this reply and I went back, and everyone had posted their responses, and all their responses were just "fuck off," and then my one was like, "Thank you for the invitation. I appreciate you inviting me on, but I have an issue with your platform because I don't think you're doing this to benefit." And like they were all like, "Why are you so polite?" But I was like, well, I don't know. I just felt like, but like with GB News, realistically, their platform isn't very big. Like they don't have many viewers. They're only famous because of money, and like. If I do a good couple of videos
I'm gonna be distracted by this until I say it. So Redcap and Hinkypunk just followed. Redcap and Hinkypunk, can you just put a thing in chat because I want to see how old your account is. It's just another Harry Potter reference in these usernames, and I'm just like, did your account age badly, or are you like, you know what? Just say hi if you're a tough. Just say. Anyway, sorry.
Shout outs to all the gender criticals who are 3 hours into the stream of
if
me,
you're
like...
agenda critical watching a 3-hour stream of us talking, we've won.
Yeah, hit me up, mate. No, you're going to defect. You're going to turn into a TRA, TWAW, AGP. I don't know, whatever your other cool acronyms.
Yeah, I'm going to defect. That's right. Yeah. No. Sorry. You please carry on. Yeah. I have a hypothetical for us in a minute, which is the peak of debating.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If everyone was a pedophile, no, I'm like, no. But like, so for GB News doesn't make any sense. But if it was Fox News, for example, imagine if Fox News were in my DMs tomorrow.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They are so fucking big audience, and it maybe they're too far right to be worthwhile. But then maybe if it was like, there's got to say like modern day debates or something. They have a very big platform, bigger than mine, and they're properly like centrist or whatever. That is very hard to draw the line, and I think you'd really have to consider it every single time. That's all I was going to say. But going with your hypothetical, unless you've got a comment on that, of course.
You sound very dismissive about my hypothetical. I get the feeling like you're not into this hypothetical.
By it.
No, I think you're right, and I think that we are in agreement now, and we found an agreement about. So this is exactly why I say that actually, like, debate has its place and can be a really useful conversational tool, because now we've found, like, I think a pretty like common ground about like where the factors are,
methodology of how to make a decision.
How do you decide that, right? And it's like we figured it out. See, that's a useful application of us, differing.
Yeah. And it's how you find a good strategy. And it doesn't mean we'll make the same decisions every time, but if we're considering the same factors, that's what's good. That's like more important than just getting someone to agree with you without understanding why, because then they'll make a bad decision next time.
Right.
But if you're about to go off on a hypothetical, mate, don't get the wrong idea. Like, I am just as much of an argumentative bellend as you, and I have unlimited patience and a complete immunity to taking anything personally. So go in with the most ridiculous
So
hypothetical
everyone
possible,
get
and
invested
I'm
in the Katie
absolutely
Sophie
ready
beef
for it.
now. It's happening. Pick
Yeah.
your sides. Be Team
I'm invested in it.
Sophie. Subscribe and cheer if
Hashtag
you're
Team
Team
KT.
Sophie.
Yes. Oh no. Send a £69 donation if you're Team KT, and a £70 donation if you're Team Sophie. That's the only way we'll know. It's the
Right.
only way we'll know.
There you go.
So,
Donate £420 if you're Team Sophie.
okay. Yeah.
So it's not a hypothetical. However, the Twitch terms of service require that we do not talk about people who are banned on Twitch. So I am not talking about a person who is banned on Twitch. I am talking about a hypothetical streamer who is called Schmestiny. So you
Inevitability.
you go on to he's called Inevitability. That's exactly it. Right. Okay. So I'm talking about a debate streamer called Inevitability. And you go on to Inevitability's channel, and it really seems like this is someone who values having these discussions and working through stuff and finding a consensus out of disagreement in an interesting way. And as you said before, like, it's centrist garbage, right? Like it's really like the Inevitability is way too willing to tolerate the positions of really, really horrible people. But he's also open to hearing what trans people have to say about themselves. So you go on there,
Very
and
occasionally.
can you win over can you win over Inevitability's followers? It's a huge platform.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what you wanna do.
So we're agreed on that so far. But then, in my hypothetical and not at all in the real history of a real person, over time, it becomes more and more clear that Inevitability is just an out-and-out fascist. He starts hanging out loads with a white nationalist called Laura Northern, and they play Minecraft together, and he coaches her for how to win debates against other debate streamers, and they're just basically best buds, right? And whether this is because
I didn't know this
Inevitability's
hypothetically happened.
and whether this is because Inevitability's politics are authentically fascist, or whether it is just because Inevitability is such a soulless grifter that the attention of getting engaged, getting all this attention for engaging with an out-and-out white supremacist fascist activist who goes out into the ocean and tries to murder refugees coming across the English Channel on raft. It's all the same to Inevitability because it makes him money, right? And it gets him attention. And it was in part the fact that you helped legitimize his Inevitability's centrism in the first place, right? Arguably, right? That drives the engagement of Inevitability's fascist arc, right? Because people are like, no, that's a centrist. That dude's a centrist on stuff. But the more that he says like really outrageous stuff, people go and look at it. And then the only solution eventually is for people to ignore it completely. And I know that Keffel's, were she able to make it today, would, agree with that part, because I've seen her advocating hypothetically completely ignore my hypothetical streamer and never talk about them, because it's the only way that we can like actually get rid of them, right? What are your feelings on that?
Fight the inevitability of it.
There you go. I'm not really using my hypothetical that's not about a real band streamer. I am to make a specific point. I'm just trying to talk through like, what are your feelings on that? Because if we've got these different factors for deciding, right, whether you should engage with something, what if down the line, like, they're just increasingly using the like big attention of like being a big fash?
I do have a counter argument, but you go first too, because
there is a certain inevitableness to if we are constantly pushing for these platforms to maintain their standards, that no matter how much money they're making, the person will eventually cross a line where the audience, where the reputation of the platform is being damaged by them throwing defense for this sort of person. And so there is that sort of tack that can be taken with that kind of thing. But I do broadly agree with the shape and analysis that you're making. Yeah.
Well, if there is a point to my hypothetical, it is that inevitability, the hypothetical streamer, is someone entirely driven by money. It would be fair in my hypothetical to describe them maybe even as a sociopath. They have no feelings on anything in particular and just want to get more attention and money, and even post publicly when their fans are mad at them for having bought into NFTs that they're just trying to make as much money as they can before they eventually get banned and can't be on Twitch anymore.
They hypothetically get into NFTs. God.
Yeah, and their fans hypothetically get mad at them, and they hypothetically post that they don't care because they just want to make as much money as possible. And what I'm trying to say is,
and Debate Bros is a proper brain rot scenario.
inevitability, conveniently named, right, is almost an allegory within our hypothetical for the forces of the profit incentive, because they hypothetically just care about that and nothing else, and they're making really calculated moves about like what can best draw in this attention, and they don't care about the harm, right? And that's part of my point, is that we have to be aware of the cold calculation of the profit incentive and try to offset that as well in what we do.
My I guess not counterpoint, but my additional point, which points in a different direction, is that as they're like, they start off and everyone buys into this idea that they're a centrist, and then they slowly like fash out or capitalize or whatever garbage they get up to. On that way, say let's just say I go on inevitability stream early days, and then 3 years later they totally fucking noob out and go on Laura Northen's boat and whatever. If at some point between those two events I'm going to get to the point where I've had enough and they're no longer a contact that I'm interested in, I'm going to start calling them out. And when I start doing that, a lot of other people won't yet be on board with that and will push back against me. But as it becomes more and more clear, they'll realize that that isn't the case.
Yeah.
And then you can get this kind of audience migration. And I know that a hypothetical Canadian trans woman called Bethels has definitely gained in platform significantly from the squabble here. And some of those people, I mean, this is also like hard to say, isn't it? But some of them would have been fans of inevitability.
It's hard to say because it's hypothetical. We're not talking about a real guy.
Yeah, exactly. But, hypothetically, some of them are fans and like got put on the radar of both people, but were fans of one of them. And as they start veering off to the right and get more and more mad, there's a point where they suddenly like, oh, maybe what's all these other people are saying. And then they can jump ship to the other person, and then you've stolen their fan base. I mean, you're not going to steal the whole thing.
No, but a
like
significant portion of it, absolutely. You're going to get the ones that you can get,
Also,
so like...
Sorry, there is a point where the kind of real person that our hypothetical streamer represents, not just any individual case study, but that class of person, that type of guy, has a massive rollover rate on their community because they're perfectly willing to absolutely harass members of their own community. And like absolutely.
And I'm not.
Like,
yeah.
That's absolutely true, but there are also aspects where leftists don't have the same turnover rate in communities because our ideas are based on the reality. And so so people are way less likely to one day go, holy shit, the sky's actually purple. I was wrong this whole time. Like, it's much less likely to happen. Catastrophic mental breakdown due to forces beyond our control. Your wife leaves you, whatever. Poor Graham. Right. So Katie, I agree. So we're agreeing, which is great.
No,
the
that's
point
garbage. You're
I'm
wrong.
trying to get at. You
Hashtag Team
smell,
Katie.
Katie.
$69.
Fucking hell. No, like the point exactly that I'm trying to illustrate with all of this, but I will disagree with Tia, so now we can start a new feud.
Ooh. Oh yeah, we're teaming up against the greater
Feud
evil.
triangle.
There we go, we're doing it. So I agree, and the point that I'm trying to get at is that we have to make it profitable for people to have the pro-trans echo chamber, right? Because they've made it profitable to have the anti-trans echo chamber by pouring a ton of money into it, right? So if we're going to compete on a fully capitalized, fully capitalist, competition-based system of social media, we have to make it profitable to have our pro-trans echo chamber, and we're doing
financially
it
and socially,
literally right now. Like we're doing it and we're pulling it off and we're succeeding, which is awesome. And where I was going to disagree with Tia is to say that a hypothetical guy does not represent a type of guy, but represents the incentives that control absolutely all of us. And that's a bigger deal because it doesn't just matter about this one specific guy. It doesn't invalidate your point. You're still right in your point about that type of guy. But
and it's really good that you're correcting me on this, because I was actually critiquing myself while I was making it, but I didn't want to make an aside.
I love how much agreeing we're doing now. It's wonderful, isn't this the best possible outcome of a debate? The catharsis. We all agree.
agreeing is for cowards.
No, it's the calm before the real storm.
The slurs are coming. Don't worry.
Oh, no.
But in all seriousness, right? If we make a space that is profitable in having a leftist echo chamber and having a pro-trans echo chamber, then we're starting to draw together a social movement on the platform, right? That can actually change some things. Right now, you aren't allowed to say the word beginning with a C, which is considered a pejorative against white people, because Twitch panders so hard to the far
Really?
right? You can't call someone in chat, and I'm saying the words, I'm not referring to any particular person because that would be against terms of service. You can't call them a simp, you can't call them a virgin, you can't call them an incel.
You can't describe their behavior as ritzy.
Because the people because the people who engage the most with Twitch, right, sending off mass reports, calling themselves the real fans, and giving a ton of money to prominent creators, and also the creators themselves are far right, and that's why Twitch panders to them, because it's a capitalist corporation and it only cares about making dumb money. But if we can make dumb money big time through Twitch, and we can draw tons of attention, right? Then we can start to turn that back, right? We can affect Twitch itself, and we can affect the social movement of the political social media.
But also,
Yes.
Twitch is a platform like Holyrood Magazine, which largely pushes out garbage. How does this interact with our previous arguments?
Well, firstly, a platform is not a platform, it is a pit. Social media does not...
Just a trough
social
of
media,
slurry.
it completely, utterly is. I'm actually writing an essay with that title. Social media does not function like a magazine, right? Where there's an editor who is just like, I want you to write this thing for me. Come over here and write this thing, and then I will publish it to these followers who you could not access otherwise, right? Like, it is just a space with certain affordances. You can stream, you can chat, you can subscribe, cheer, or donate directly using command tip. I currently have a fundraiser going on to get laser beams on my face.
$69 for Team Katie.
$4.20 for Team Sophie. It has certain affordances that you can engage with, right? Whereas a magazine doesn't. Like, not anyone can do the things that you can do with a magazine, right? Not anyone can write for any magazine anytime that they want at all. That's what people think of as the democratization of these big social media platforms. In actuality, it's a trap to draw people into a more corporatized internet, but I'll get into that in my essay. It doesn't matter right now.
I totally agree with that.
But for the purposes that people try to praise these big social media platforms, right, it's the democratization that does make a serious difference to a magazine, right? Like, it's it's not the same as if we have to weigh up whether the editor only cares about making money and harming trans people as a byproduct, or whether they actively hate trans people. Because Twitch, like, we know Twitch doesn't care. Like, Twitch only cares about what the culture on it is making it, like, what the culture which makes its money cares about.
Do you think then that it would be like as good to go on to like Gab or 4chan or Parler or whatever the newest one, what's the new one called? Getter, and just go.
Isn't Getter the shopping app?
No, I think Getter's the new one that all the gender criticals and neo-Nazis have accounts
Oh, weird.
on. It's like a proper true Twitter clone, as in like it when you do screenshots from it, everyone's like, I didn't know Glynis led Twitter, and you're like, no, this is Getter.
Nice. So no, I don't think it's worth anyone's while to try and go and win that over.
There's obviously a grey, well, not to try and win them over, but like to gain,
to shape the culture on the platform, to turn the platform to your advantage. I don't think that that's worthwhile
because they're too far gone.
The platforms that have kicked off those people causing the outrage about free speech that blah 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 shapes what those platforms fundamentally are. Yeah. So this is the point of when me saying a platform is not a platform, it is a pit. The proprietors of the pit probably don't care, or they do, and they had a reason for making their own pit, which is separate from the main pit, right? Like, they either don't care at all, and like you're all just kind of in there and they're just not even watching until someone makes a big deal, right? Or they had a reason to make their own separate one, and like in the case of Gab, obviously they had a reason to, and they have an agenda behind why they've made their pit. What I would advocate for in an equivalence to Gab is for us to have a leftist organizing space, well, not organizing space, but a leftist social space online, which is separate from Twitter.
So if we did, like Gab is a Mastodon instance or whatever it is now, right. It's got its own version of
Fediverse instance,
yeah, like. I mean, the problem with these things is it's like one of these, like, why don't we make a new one of these? And you make it, and then like 50 people join, and someone else is like, why don't we make one of these? And you get a new 50.
Yeah.
Like, to like make a Getter, but that's like, rather than encouraging wankers, it pushes them out harder than Twitter does.
Right, and we're not ready to do that step yet. Then that's the problem. We're not ready because we don't have the social capital that the far right built on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter for years and years and years and years and years.
Like we haven't.
Oh yeah, we're so behind. We really urgently have to catch up. I think it's really really important. We haven't had our Gamergate. Like we've not done any kind of mass organizing to push a leftist political agenda that actually changes something online. Whereas they've had their Gamergate. They did actually make like tangible political changes to the real world with posts. We can't do that.
Gender critical is the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know that's exactly literally making real changes to the world with posts. I mean that's gender critical, isn't it?
Yeah. What I want to definitely point out is that the American Christian right has been pushing a satanic panic for like a gazillion years, and it has not actually stopped, even though we stopped calling it what it is.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Yeah, it's just the newest iteration now, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
I opened a
that remains
Curious
true
Cat.
whether you think it's demons or aliens or the deep state
or Pizzagate or the pedophiles or absolutely.
I opened a Curious Cat the other day because I'm gonna do a new video series where I answer questions people ask about trans people on YouTube. If you're interested, check it out on YouTube. And I'm fucking loving it because it's anonymous questions. People say the most hilarious things. Obviously, loads of it's really super lusty. Loads of it's just insults for trans people. It's not for the faint-hearted, I guess. But I got a brilliant comment the other day, which was something like, actually, maybe I should look it up because I did a screenshot. If you just give me 10 seconds, because it was pretty good.
9, 8, 7.
I have something I'll say in the meantime, which is that another reason that I deeply loathe the debate bro space is that the fandoms that they've been recruiting from, that they make this big point about we're turning fascists into leftists, because fascists online have reached a certain point already, and leftists online are still trying to formulate their base, right? A ton of these fascists who are coming through are really eager to do something, and their experience of doing something online is harassing women. And so
Yeah.
the debate bros who need to give them something to do, because they can really they can accurately take the temperature of their audience, and they are reading what their audience wants, go, well, I need to find someone to offload some of this hostility onto, and then they have on one of their leftist, would-be comrades, and instead they say, for supporting black nationalism, you're doing white genocide, also you're racist against white people, also you're sexist against men, and then all of their followers, destroy that person. And this is how, leftist debate bros turn into a comrade disposal system. All they do is bring on the other leftist they consider most disposable, and then have their audience shred them to pieces. But if you can show those same... I'm so nearly done. If you can show those same audience members that they can do authentic leftism, they could actually do something worthwhile with their posts on a similar level to harassing people, but it's not harassing people. Or maybe it's just harassing bad people. Maybe, but it's probably not. It probably has to be something else. Then you could
and eviction resistance is the best form of harassment.
That's absolutely true. Telling bailiffs to kill themselves is praxis. No, that's not true. Why did I say that? Katie, please tell me the thing you were going to say.
So yeah, those are my little comments. It's just because we were saying about demons. Someone wrote, "How do you justify trans women dressing like demons and trying to read at kids at libraries? Does that not concern you that people on your side don't have the best intentions?" I think anyone who dresses like a demon has the best intentions.
Me too, absolutely.
Shout out to
all the demonic trans women out
I've
there.
seen her outfit.
Reading at libraries.
I've seen the I've seen the thing they're referring to, and it was completely, it was baller. It looked fucking great.
I got like a.
Yeah, you're in a metal band, right?
Yeah, I've got a little demon. So nice. Please, no one. Oh, pulled out my headphones. Please, no one read into the fact I'm wearing an I Stuff t-shirt because the main guy got arrested in the storm the Capitol. Separate the art from the artist.
Oh, no. Katie, do you want to plug your metal band as well? Because I realized that you have that, and I think that's really cool, and I think my followers should check that out.
Yeah, so I'm in 1.5 metal bands. And the one I will push is called Dehumanaut, and we are a death thrash band, but we have little 3/4 swingy sections. If you like that kind of thing, then please check us out. We're on all the things.
I have at least 2 people watching who I know are going to be really into that. So there you go.
Well, that's the best you can hope for in metal. When it's 2, you're like, whoa, good returns. Hey guys.
Wow.
Oh
shit! This is doing numbers.
Yeah, exactly. 2 likes. I've never been in a band this good. We broke even on our first album, which is top tier metal.
Yeah, that's true. Can vouch. Yeah, that's, good job.
But so just on, you were just saying about the comrade disposable situation, which is, I think it's a good way to describe it.
Yeah.
Obviously, no one's invincible, and lots of people think they can hack things that they can't. And it's very easy to overestimate yourself. But it's also like imposter syndrome and easy to underestimate yourself. There's some of these people who are in that position, who I feel like when we're talking about this scale of size of platform versus how good their positions are and who's in their audience and stuff, I've been considering them as targets to try and, not targets, sounds like the wrong word, but people who might want to have me on their stream, and they might try and or they might accidentally do a comrade disposal system on me. But on an individual weighing up basis, I feel like some of them I could survive the onslaught from their crew if it went that way. And also I can present myself in a way that makes me more protected to that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the things of where I'm considering going on for expanding the trans ideology message. Gender ideology, inject it into kids' brains.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think that a lot of basically and I am spending a lot of time writing about this, and it will be out some fucking time. But I think that left culture broadly is a good thing, and I just think that if there are people who are stating their beliefs to be, broadly speaking, in line with our beliefs and just manufacturing entertainment, that's perfectly fine. That said, like, if someone were coming after you for, like, because they had taken against you, because they had decided that you were like a disposable person who they could use to vent some of the outrage of their audience, like, it wouldn't be a good thing. Like, even if you're fine with it, like, it still wouldn't be a good thing.
No, for sure. And
But
it's
no, I do still support, like,
strategy.
if you go and chat with whoever and, like, or debate with whoever, like we just did. Like, I just think that, like, it needs to be on the ground. Like, this is the first distinction between, like, competitive debate and, debate society debate and championship debate and, the world of real world debate and, like, Twitch politics debate, right? Is that in Twitch politics debates, like, it's the stakes of it are, like, validating or invalidating a belief, right? And if one person wins, then they've won, right? In some kind of, like, cosmic sense, rather than flex their muscles as a debater in the ability to, like, construct arguments and rebut their opponent's points, right? It's not just it is just a rhetorical exercise, and the spectacle of it is the stakes of all, like, of politics being, like, decided in the marketplace of ideas, like the battle arena.
And that's why I don't like when they're like live debate. I don't know how to describe the difference, but like we just had a debate, but like
Right.
there's also a come debate me, bro, like on my channel kind of thing. The reason I don't like those second ones is I like arguing and smashing people in arguments and stuff, but the thing is that in live debates,
Yeah.
like it's all performance and ego.
Yeah.
Like if you can gish gallop and look confident doing it, you will win. It doesn't matter what you're saying, and that's
Exactly.
why I don't like them, because if I love arguing with people, but that's why I always wanted to do these in writing, because you can't gish gallop me if you're writing, because if you write 15 different points, I'm just going to write a 15 paragraph article. So but yeah yeah, I feel like I could kind of go on for this forever, but I think I need to stop in a minute. So I don't know what your plan is.
That's valid. No, I'm gonna go play some Minecraft.
Okay, I'm
Yeah,
gonna play
like,
Pokemon maybe.
awesome. That's
in
great.
Minecraft.
Yeah, I'm gonna whatever. You get where I was gonna go. Anyway,
Minecraft joke.
I no, I think the key difference is that, like, we find a common understanding, and, like, we can do that, and we set out knowing that we could do that. Like, I know that if we're getting into some kind of disagreement, it's not going to lead to, like, a genuine big feud, and we know, we know that the whole time, and, like, it's why it's, like, worthwhile, like, engaging with that at all. Like, your politics are not different to mine in a way where I would, like, consider platforming them to be harmful. Like, I think, Tyr and I almost right, like, yeah, exactly. Like, if you were from fucking UKIP, like, like, I wouldn't think that we could come to any kind of, like, common ground that wouldn't make me, like, deeply troubled about what I believe. Like, if we agreed on something, I would be, I'd be like, oh shit, where did I go wrong here? Yeah, but I think we'll probably gonna wind up having a bunch more discussions about the situation, the attacks on trans
I'll
people,
come on
because
arguing about all this when
because there's more and more all the fucking time. It would be great to have you on Red Planet to talk similarly. I'm hoping to do a panel soon, which will likewise be, like, all trans people on Red Planet talking about trans issues. Yeah, this one kind of got into, like, how we do media strategy a lot, but, like, one thing I want to get across to the chat before we head off, because I'm just, like, constantly looking out for this, is, like, we need fundraisers, and we're, like, super we, the content creators, are super ready to do fundraisers, and I know the chat are super ready to, like, give money, but, like, the funds, like, I'm having genuine struggle, like, finding the right funds to give to combat stuff. And I think we should talk about that briefly before we do go, because, like, where, like, if we can, one thing the online left can do and has done a bunch of times is just, like, send a ton of fucking money to people who need it. I gave, I raised £100,000 for Gender GP's fund to pay for trans kids transitions
yeah, I
after
was
the
part of
Tavistock
that.
v Bell thing. Yeah, you were. Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is news to me, and I was like, no, I was
you were
part
on
of
that stream. Yeah, I got this tattoo of a witch to commemorate it because TERFs tried to have my Twitter taken down for having nudity in
I
it, and it was a
remember.
classical painting of a witch. It was very funny. We can do that. That's one of the things we can do is get a bunch of money somewhere and chat. I don't know, tag me on Twitter or something because I'm like, I really want to know like where we can send a ton of money in order to help.
One is I did an interview with Joe Malm from Good Law Project on my YouTube the other day. You should also go check that out if you're interested. And Good Law Project have a crowdfunder for legal action towards trans rights, and they have a decent amount of money on there already. I can't remember, it's like several £100,000.
Yeah.
And basically, from talking to both Joe and also like the team, so they have I'm not affiliated with them in any way at all. I think they're quite good, but I'm not selling them.
I plug them pretty often. Yeah, like
but so they have like a trans advisory team of trans people who decide which things they're going to do, and obviously the more money they have, the more like trans legal cases they can take on at once, and they've got like 4 at the moment. And so I think. I mean, that's a possible cause, and then obviously,
yeah. I mean, that's. Can I just say that's one I wanted to like. I've already been like, we should give money to Good Law Project. I did see Joe tweeting the other day that regarding the EHRC bathroom bill shit, like he was just like, we can't challenge that, or like, I don't know. He basically said don't give money to Good Law Project if it's with the intention of challenging the EHRC's bathroom bill shit because for various reasons, and so that was like troubling, but. I still would probably, for big fundraisers, just like be putting half of it towards Good Law Project anyway. I want one fund in the UK and another fund in the US. And probably the UK one is just going to be Good Law Project because it's like probably the best place we can send our money right now.
At the moment, but like, and maybe this is another thing we should encourage to form because like what the Gender Criticals did, and maybe something we can copy, is that each of their little groups does their own little crowdfund and raise 100, like Fair Play for Women, For Women, Scott, like LGBT Alliance. They all do it, and then they pick one tiny little legal thing, like they go after the census, they go after like public boards ratio of women, like this kind of thing, and they do all these things, and most of them they lose, and then one of them they win. Like Good Law Project are great, and Joe's an expert at what he does, but for some of these things, like a judicial review, I mean, if we raise £100,000 or whatever it was, that's the number that the Gender Criticals always seem to go for. If we raise £100,000, find a couple of lawyers and do a judicial review, Good Law Project, they don't have to risk, because they've got to risk their reputation and their time and all this kind of stuff. Whereas if we just do like a one-off, we just make a group, raise a bunch of money, find a lawyer, do that attack. I mean, Fair Play for Women are like one person. For Women Scott's like 2 people.
But isn't a huge part of that just essentially them grifting? Like, financially, would we be copying that? Like, if we copied that, wouldn't we just be like taking a ton of people's money? Like, I don't.
The difference is that I mean, we wouldn't mysteriously disappear after raising lots of money, which has happened several times with gender critical crowdfunders. And it could be really transparent about it because we're not in this for the grip. Like, we're not in this to make money, whereas lots of them are professional gender criticals, or certainly I'm not in this to make money. And what we're doing here is people want to fight this fucking garbage EHRC thing.
Yeah.
And we're fighting it by trying to get their status downgraded by the like international European human rights stuff. And we're fighting it by media attacks. But another way could just be to see, hey, like, if you want to raise money for this thing, you could just be open to like judicial review quite likely won't succeed because they're a garbage process, and all the money is going to go to lawyers. It's not going to help children. So please, like, donate there instead. But if we want to do this, do a charity Donkey Kong or whatever, and then I don't know. I was thinking out loud. But
yeah,
it works for them, and it's made real differences to the law.
I'm just
the
concerned
EHRC guidance cites For Women Scott ruling, which they got just by luck. So
I'm just concerned, and I think that I need Tia's input on this. Because
right.
in America the situation is way more
Different.
immediate.
Mm.
It's dire in both places in different ways. It is getting more immediate all the time for people in the UK, but CPS coming to kidnap kids from kidnap
Yes.
trans kids
Fucking
from their
disgusting.
parents. The money that we could put towards a situation like that has to be money to get people out of Texas, right? I don't
Yeah,
know.
let's focus on that first.
And that's what I'm struggling to find any kind of fund to give money towards, like any kind of relocation fund or anything like that. Which I know that
And
relocation funds do exist, because I was talking to a trans woman in Ukraine who had the help of a relocation fund to get her to Germany.
I should honestly have looked into something like that in advance so that I could.
I'm trying to say
The next time.
I've been trying to look and find something, and I can't. It's something I'm genuinely really troubled by. I know that we could send a ton of money through to something if it was there. I'm not saying conclusively it doesn't exist. I'm saying I'm just been really struggling to find this.
Yeah, I think that there's a huge amount of what's the word? It's whether it's a grift or it's a a charity or fundraising activity, it's still an out from the community into some other thing that will just spread into the economy, because that's what the relocation fund is. And that's not a bad thing to help somebody, but the amount of resources that we as a group have is lower than the people who are trying to hurt us by a significant margin. And so the things that end up getting our money, our savings, etc., ends up being either something that individually affects our pathos, or some big massive event like your stream, right? Where and so the long term, the hard fight is the thing that is the hardest to maintain, because it is a war of attrition, literally, right? I was talking with a World War II scholar about this, and they basically said that they believe that if the Nazis hadn't started World War II as a war and had just administered their territory the way that they had planned, it would not look very much different from the United States' current behavior pattern with regards to its minorities.
Yeah, that makes sense. The Nazis based a ton of their stuff on the United States, and the United States has the historical lesson of hindsight of the Nazis to learn from. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so the drawing it out, making it a war of attrition, making every single amount we get deeper into the waters by millimeters and not feet is and then waiting until the hubbub dies down so that they can do the next step. That's what we're fighting against. And so I can analyze the strategy and look through and make my own decisions, but I have a hard time developing one, because
Fight back.
Yeah, me too. That's where I am kind of at. It's hard. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
that's why I'm very, very in favor of people doing everything they can, whatever that is, whether that's posting in the posting war, or going out in the streets and marching, or going full John Brown, and having vigorous debates with people, I guess, is what John Brown did.
Defeating a lot of people in the marketplace of ideas with debates and words and non-violence. Yes, exactly. Because on Twitch you cannot advocate for violence.
Yes,
and also because I don't advocate violence.
Right, but you do advocate self-defense, surely, and on Twitch you cannot. Is the thing.
Okay. Well, in that case, you can't ask me, surely, because I couldn't respond. It seemed like a trap to get me banned before I even make an account.
But yeah, no, I this is something that I kind of would like to leave viewers with, and hopefully get back to for our next discussion. Is we need something to pour a ton of money into to help people right now. And we also, we do just need to acknowledge that it's not going to fix the problem, but just to comfort the afflicted is what we need to do. And I think well, that's what we need. So chat, the big takeaway, I think, is we really need something like something that we can do a fundraiser for, some American fund to help like the people who are most directly hurt right now. Because yeah, again, on the UK side of it, like we have some things that we can do, but like we will also reach the same situation with the UK in not too long. We also need like an immediate fund.
Yeah. If you know anything like that for the United States, or if you have experience organizing something like that, or if you know something like that for the UK or have experience organizing something like that, you should like try to make it known. Reach out. If you know somebody who does that isn't present, like ask them about it. Maybe have them read you in so that you can do the work too, or ask them if you can work together, or if they can do work on this, etc. Just like find the people who have the information and try to make that information available. Try to and then as you're doing the processes, disseminate that information. Like go into your Twitter and be like, okay, to do this thing, I did this and this and this and this. So that we can repeat it, even if you get burnt out, even if you feel like you didn't do enough, so that the information doesn't leave the community, and that the whole reason why it's not the whole reason, a strategic reason why it sucks that we don't have elders. Or that we have so few elders is because so much experience, so much life, so much care was lost from us, was taken from us.
Yes. And you'll see that 100 fewer people are watching this bit than watching the debate, and that's why we have to have internally entertaining echo chamber content, which will keep people around.
Right. So next
we'll
have
next
a debate,
time,
and we'll do a sandwich. We'll debate, and then we'll spin in a little crowdfunder thing, and then
a second debate. That's good. Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, I do need to.
And hopefully we will have Keffels here next time. It was just a scheduling conflict. As I say, we're going to carry on having these conversations because they're going to carry on being necessary. Katie, where can people find what you do? And also, what is it you do?
I argue with dickheads 365 hours a day. And you should come follow my Twitter, which is Katie Montgomery, KTYMONTGOMERIE, which is the wrong way around to what you want to spell it. I'm also on YouTube, and tomorrow I am interviewing Dr. Josie Giles, who is working on making Scottish trans healthcare better, and she's going to say what she's done there to make it good and why we can do that in England too. So that'll be uplifting because she's got some.
And I linked your band in.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've got a thrash metal band. I've got a political cartoons page called Katie's Cartoons on Twitter, if you like that kind of thing. I think they're quite good.
I like them.
It's actually called Katie's Shit Cartoons because they're really bad. But I think that's probably all my things.
That's very interesting.
I've got a Medium. All my good arguments are Medium.
Oh.
That's my favorite thing at the moment.
Oh, fuck. Sorry, this is way too late to be introducing this, but Katie, you'll get a kick out of this. This girl I've been seeing was featured on Glenna's blog, and he photoshopped out, not even photoshopped, like probably painted, but edited out her blue check mark because he was ashamed to show that the trans woman had a blue check mark. And so we can't discuss that at all and have to go now. But before we do,
someone send that to me on Twitter.
Where can people find what you do? And also, what is it you do?
I am an essayist and general lay intellectual who writes things about why we should be better to each other on a like grand scale, and I do the deep theory and whatnot. And I just posted my YouTube and my and right there is my whatever that's called, my Twitter, in which I'm called David Graeber Cult Apologist. So if you're a David Graeber stan, get in there.
You will notice the more that you follow Tia that she and I are nearly the same person. Okay, thanks for thanks to both of you for coming on. I hope we'll talk again really soon.
Thanks for having me.
Hopefully with the full crew here, including the Kef Meister, and we'll have a big debate, and it will draw so many clicks.
Hashtag Team Katie.
Hashtag Team Sophie. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
Right, pals, I'm going to raid into somebody. Who should I raid into? Who's streaming? That's my question. Don't go anywhere because we're going to, do go somewhere. Go to where I'm sending you, you little motherfuckers. I'm sorry. I'm wound up. I'm highly strung from the debate. So we're gonna raid into my good friend Marina. Marina is cool. Why do I don't need to explain. They can explain themselves to you. I don't have to tell you all about who Marina is. Jesus. Sean doesn't need my raid. Come on, don't say Sean. Sean's a big boy. He can handle himself. He's got his own viewers. Remember, if you enjoyed the stream, you can pay for the stream. You can consider paying for the stream by subscribing or sharing or donating directly using command tip. I have a fundraiser going on right now to pay for laser beams on my face. Consider giving me money. Also, my Patreon, patreon.com/Sophie from Mars. If you wanna. You know, but go watch Marina just now. What's Marina doing? Just chatting? So I don't know what they're actually. Happy Monday to the haters and losers is the name of that stream. Okay, go through, say hi to Marina for me, be nice to them. Remember, giving Sophie's friends money is based, and not giving Sophie's friends money, that's kind of cringe. So I hope you all enjoyed it. And I won't be doing my regular streams this week, but we will be doing more discussions like this about the ongoing situation. And what we can do to fucking fight back against these soulless fucks who are trying to kill us, and make it their problem. Okay, I'll see you all soon. Thanks for hanging out. Good night.